Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Good job being here, and congratulations to Enoch87 Bear for first comment of the day, according to my feed. All right, everybody, a couple of things, of course. Head on over to CanaryCry.Party. You can become a producer of the show over there. There's certainly some room for producers during today's producer segment. So if you've been thinking about it, haven't pulled the trigger, maybe now's your time. Head on over to CanaryCry.Party. You can become a producer right there, or you can find links to more producing options. And while you're there, go ahead, follow us, join the newsletter, follow us in different locations, all that important stuff. We will, a couple things. For producers and potential producers, this is just a friendly heads up. Remember last episode we instituted the pocket full of sevens limit for note reading when it comes to the producership reading segment. So I think some people missed that, or perhaps I just know statistically some people missed that on last show, but just a little friendly reminder that as we continue to evolve and find ways to help Gons not be a bad father by spending all of his time podcasting, we are gently instituting the 777 note reading limit on the producer section there. But also, remember, we will be announcing the winner of the Canary Cry custom knife giveaway created by producer Nigel later on in the show. So there you go. Thanks for everybody who joined the newsletter over the past few days. There's a good chunk of you, and we're happy to have you on the list, and you'll be receiving the Canary Cry newsletter every week that has just chock-a-block full of the sources that we use for the show, as well as a decentralized preservation of these things that you can use in your own life in conversations with normies. Okay, I think that's all I needed to talk about here at the top of the show. So let's get the show started. Remember, stay hydrated. Let's go, folks.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is October 13th, 2021. This is episode 401. And today, the Great Fork. Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ. Welcome to the podcast where we bring you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And this is the last live show for like 9 days or something.
Well, for the next 3 episodes.
Sure.
Yes. So the Gonz with the Wind week starts on Friday, but we have been doing some recordings for supplemental episodes to come out. But there you go. Happens every October, apparently. Apparently, this is becoming a tradition. That some of you may have noticed, we did a Q&A call for questions out on Twitter. We did this was sort of a last minute thing, but we did put together a Q&A episode to give the chance for some people to ask questions that maybe we don't talk about on the show. Since then, we've had even more Q&A come in, so we will have one Q&A episode. But I don't know, perhaps there will be another one, but there'll be some fun surprises for everybody over the next 3 episode days. That'll be this upcoming Friday, Monday, and Wednesday, but we will be back next Friday with a regular live show. Yep. Which I'm sure we'll have a lot of news to catch up on.
Oh, I'm sure there will be.
Yes. Anything you want to? Any announcements you want to make at the beginning here? What's the deal?
You said it in the pre-stream, but some people with the feed don't get the pre-stream. So just the custom knife thing that, sign up for the email list.
Yes, we will be announcing the winner of the custom knife Canary Cry episode 400 giveaway by producer Nigel. We'll be doing that probably in one of the breaks, probably the second break. I don't know. We'll see how things go. But yes, thank you very much, producer Nigel, for making that available. Very excited about that. And the way this will work will be similar to previous drawings, where we will announce the person who got drawn. Then they have a little while to respond. And if they don't respond, we'll just have to do it again. But we'll cross that bridge when we come there.
Yeah.
All right. What do you got, Gons?
So, all right, we named the episode "The Great Fork." Yes. Because it seems like there is a split in the road. This is something that a lot of people have noticed. We've been talking about it for a while too. And it's sort of the right-left paradigm, but it's also the divide and conquer. It's two wings of the same bird.
Transparent hypocrisy.
Yeah. And we had a note from a producer and friend of the show, Gary, and he just reminded us of a couple things.
Gary the Robot?
No, not Gary the Robot. This is a full human Gary. I've sat in his presence and shared a meal and stuff. So yes, a flesh and blood Gary. And he reminded us of just some of the things going on with other truthers out there, and talking about this sort of great reset versus great awakening concept. And it's sort of a duality that's being played out there, and people are choosing sides, and that's part of the psyop, is to pick a side. And I think, obviously, the harvesting or the culling of people of our kind of thinking is the great awakening side. And the rest of the people will go with the great reset side, the people that are going along with the World Health Organization and the government and all the mainstream narratives. So it's something to keep in mind, because we've always talked about the narrow road, and just keeping things balanced, keeping things grounded. That's part of why we do this, is to try to be as objective and grounded as possible, especially to the Word of God, so that we're not flying off the handle with certain things, which both you and I, Basil, are guilty of doing with various topics, and we probably will be today when we talk about two-headed.
Flying off the handle.
Just speculating to no end, and it doesn't help anybody. Kind of like...
I disagree, but okay.
Kind of like how the two-headed turtle is in the news.
Okay.
It's my transition.
Kind of like that.
Well,
all right. Tell me about this
so
I have not seen the two-headed turtle.
All right. So this is Boston Globe. Two-headed turtle found on Cape Cod. There's a picture there. A little cute thing, but also, yes, two turtles growing out of the same turtle shell there. And of course, this happens in nature,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I've seen this before.
Yeah, there's been two-headed snakes. They think that it's when the spinal column fuses when they're twins, but they fully don't separate in the womb. Then they can have these situations. The point isn't that this exists, because surely over time there's been two-headed turtles. The point is, why is it in the news? What's the point of it being in the news if they're not signaling the Great Fork?
Oh, okay. Yes, we're keeping it level-headed here, folks.
Keeping it real.
No crazy conspiracy theories here.
They're not conspiracy theories. They're just observations.
Okay.
All
right. Sure. I'll let you keep going.
Oh, you got the turtle, in China. It represents
the reptilians.
Yeah, it's the reptilians, of course. Yeah. The legend of the turtle is associated with water. It symbolizes order and the creation of the universe. The Mohawk people tell of a world turtle who carries the earth on her back. So the earth is splitting. Basil, it's moving in two different directions.
Oh yeah. Okay.
In African diasporic religions, the tortoise appears in several Yoruban folk tales as a trickster and a troublemaker. So, yeah, see, there's a misdirection happening.
And in Kung Fu Panda, the master is a turtle, but a two-headed turtle, referencing two masters. You cannot serve two masters.
See, I told you. Hey, I knew you would pick up on the.
You've got
the
Mike Bennett's new book, Two Masters and Two Gospels.
Right, there you go.
So Mike Bennett is the Lizard Pope. I'm following you, Gons. This makes sense.
You called it out. You figured it all out. There is it is interesting. There is a couple mentions of turtles in the Old Testament. You know, Leviticus and Numbers. It's kind of a sacrifice. And in Numbers 6, starting in verse 8, it says, "All the days of his separation he is holy unto the Lord." Verse 9, "And if any man die very suddenly by him, and he hath defiled the head of his consecration, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the seventh day he shall shave it." Verse 10, "And on the eighth day he shall bring 2 turtles, or 2 young pigeons, to the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, and make an atonement for him, for that he sinned by the dead, and shall hallow his head the same day." So I don't know, man. With this idea of a false Christ type of figure appearing and cleansing all of us, right? The ascension, we're all being reset or awakened, whatever it is.
Wow.
It just seems like there's a theme, a pattern, but I'm probably just crazy.
Yeah, well, if anybody's new to the show and they were looking for some simple news analysis, you really gave them a whole...
Well, we gotta set the stage. Everything else makes sense. All the stories make sense now because of this little setup for today.
You're not going to hear that kind of analysis on any other show,
well,
folks.
You know who agrees with me that this moment is very important?
Me?
No, Jen Psaki.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
The president wants to make fundamental change in our economy, and he feels coming out of the pandemic is exactly the time to do that. And if we don't do it now, if we don't address the cost of childcare, to go back to Josh's question earlier, if we don't address the climate crisis, if we don't ensure that universal pre-K is a reality now, we're not going to have the same opportunity to do it for some time.
There you go. It's going to be a while before we get another opportunity like this.
Yeah, never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting, she comes out and says, President Biden thinks that this is the moment. This is our one chance. Like, well, I mean, surely Mr. Biden got this from Klaus Schwab, because Klaus Schwab has been saying this since 2020.
We need a great reset. It's a perfect opportunity.
Perfect opportunity for a great reset.
A cyber pandemic. The whole deal. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. Again, going back to sort of the transparency, the tipping of the hand, the sort of unmasking of how the elites are thinking about this moment. She basically just said, we're going to use this crisis to forward an agenda that we've planned for very long, and we won't get a chance for a very long time.
That's
at some point they just have to come out and say it.
Well, that's the thing, is that a lot of people that have been called conspiracy theorists, and a growing number of people through the last 20 years or so,
right,
has seen the agenda. They've read the documents. They know about it. They've watched the documentaries, and most people are aware of it at this point. Yeah. So now, if you're the elite, you're like, we did it. We pulled off a pandemic. What do we do? Like, it worked. Everyone shut down. Like the whole deal. I'm sure they're scrambling and saying, like, this is lower levels, not the throne of Lucifer. He's probably just laughing at everybody, but you know what I mean? Like, people in the lower ranks, they're all trying to position themselves. And you look at world leaders all over the place, collectively all talking about climate change as the one thing. They're all at war, space war, territory, all this stuff, but they're all complicit to the whole Agenda 2030, UN, clean energy, the change. They're all complicit with that. So
I don't know if complicit is the right word. They're all on board and they all have a lot to gain.
Or compliant. Maybe I meant complied.
Sure. Compliant. Yeah. But it is funny, especially over the past couple of years, the word conspiracy theorist being turned into equal to terrorist or white supremacist or something like that. And part of what would gain you that label of conspiracy theorist is saying they're going to use this pandemic to push forward some agendas of the elites. That's a very general description, right? Yeah. I'm not getting into any specifics, but simply saying the governments of the world are using the pandemic to push forward larger globalized agendas. Mm-hmm. That will get you labeled as a conspiracy theorist. But Jen Psaki right here is saying President Biden is using the pandemic to push forward the global agenda.
Like climate change.
Well, she doesn't say it outright, but she is referring to Agenda 2030, which is driven by climate change. It's the reorganization of the economies, the global economies, or the pancake economies, whatever the case may be. She's saying it without using the exact words, but this is the kind of crazy stuff that gets you kicked off of YouTube, and Jen Psaki is saying it on national television.
Certainly a sake bomb for me.
Yeah, so it's, to what you're saying, the great fork here, where part of that fork is the fork of people who hear Jen Psaki say that and agree and say, yes, this is our opportunity. This is our opportunity to change the world. And then you have the other side. There's like, oh my gosh, yeah, my conspiracy theorist friend was right. This is exactly what they've been talking about.
Yeah, it's very fascinating that you're seeing at a societal level a very distinct line being drawn in the sand. Yeah. When it comes to people who really are all on board with this narrative, and then you just think to yourself, like, wow, they actually pulled it off to some degree. Like, there's a large number of people who are just following along with the whole thing.
To be fair, we never expected them to not pull it off.
True, you're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah,
but. Yeah, it's just wild to be in this time. And now we're going to see now that the shakeup has happened, we're going to see a lot of the musical chairs, people trying to take the seat before the music stops again.
Yeah. Well, and you had the cycling of the old world order being cycled out. Yeah. We think that includes, I would put Francis Collins on that list. Oh, of course,
100%.
Francis Collins cycled out. Bill Gates cycled out. Bibi Netanyahu cycled out. Yeah. There's a number of. I think there's still some hangers on.
Bezos stepping down. That's probably got something to do with it.
No, exactly. Great point. Facebook being in the crosshairs, I think counts as sort of a old world order.
But they have their hand in Facebook a lot. The same people, so they're probably like, yeah, we knew it was gonna get some heat, but we're gonna. It will live. Like, it'll be a zombie that just keeps going.
That's not as straightforward of a comparison, but that's part of the agenda, is the cycling out of the old world order to create the new.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, cycling out the old and in with the new guns, it's time for the Flippy update.
You're right, but it's also Wednesday.
It is Wednesday, my dudes.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
I forgot about that. It is Wednesday, my dudes. Okay, this is coming from thestatenews.com. And this is coming from, or the headline rather, is MSU Recycling Center installs new robotic sorter, adds more flexibility. Ooh, flexibility. The Michigan State University Surplus Store and Recycling Center installed a new robotic sorter last week, which allows the facility to categorize recyclables more efficiently and combat staffing shortages. The sorter, which takes the form of a robotic arm hovering over the center's conveyor belt, can sort up to 80 items per second, an upgrade from the 40 items a human sorter can perform. We've got a new member of the family, Gons.
Doubling the speed of humans.
And you know what? I forgot to give the spiel. For those who are new to the show, Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and just how there's nothing we can do about it. So the new member of the family is I don't know if there's a Sortie. Is Sortie a name?
I don't know.
I don't know. It's not great. Not as good as Flippy.
Yeah.
The article goes on. The addition was made possible by a slew of state grants. Government-funded robotic arms, Gons. This is how it starts. Which covered about $180,000 of the $250,000 associated with purchasing and installing the sorter. $250,000. This might be the most expensive robotic arm on Earth, not in space, but on Earth. Recycling director David Smith said that he came across the technology at an operators conference 4 years ago. He was impressed at the time, but didn't jump to install it. That mindset changed 2 years later when the plant had a safety issue involving an employee sorter. Oh no!
What happened?
Yeah, what happened?
He lose a hand or something?
They don't go into it, but
it must have been
interesting because they say 4 years ago he learned about it at a conference, of course. 2 years later, that would have put us pretty much at the beginning of the pandemic. So I was, as the sentence goes, that mindset changed 2 years later. Like, oh yeah, when the pandemic hit and they couldn't do it. It's like, no, there was a safety issue involving an employee sorter. Oh no, a poor man got sucked into the recycling machine or something. Smith and his team decided to pursue installing the robotic sorter, believing it would help curb such an issue from occurring again.
They reference it again without saying what it is. Twice in that sentence.
So
it must have been really bad.
This poor recycling sorter.
No name, nothing. Just hush over there. We would like to keep this under wraps, but also,
you know what's so funny is they leave it to the imagination.
I know.
Which immediately goes to the worst case scenario.
Because if it wasn't that bad, they would say it.
Just say it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he even if it was like his arm got caught in a machine or something, it's a little gruesome, but like that's just the beginning of where the imagination takes this. Anywho, quote, "We thought, had we had this robot here, that's less people sorting material," Smith said. Quote, "We don't have many injuries, but we want to keep it that way."
Definitely an injury.
Definitely the guy is, The upgrade came with additional benefits outside of safety. The sorter saves the center money, as it can sort more items than a human sorter without having to be paid a wage. Robots are also more reliable, Smith said. Well, human burn.
I know.
Quote, "Robots are highly reliable," Smith said. "They don't call in sick and those kinds of things. The sorter is not one single machine. It's a system of machines working together. A vision system is positioned in front of the sorter arm itself. This is essentially a camera that is pre-installed with over 2 million images, which it utilizes to identify what each recyclable that comes within its lens is." Smith said that it can also be trained to identify containers it hasn't seen before. He is currently trying the machine to recognize empty juice containers from dining halls. Quote, "The difference between this technology and a lot of other technologies is this system learns like the human brain does."
Oh, you think Smith he was given talking points by
I think he's just repeating what the salesman told him.
That's exactly what I think too. Yeah. I mean, the whole that line about they don't call in sick and those kinds of things, we've heard that multiple times.
Those are all sales pitches for these robotic arms. So he's just sort of repeating the sales pitch. After being scanned by the vision system, recyclables are then sent to a large cage containing oh my gosh, they send the recyclables into a large cage.
So this poor worker, sorter, got sucked into the machine, probably lost a couple things, and he was thrown into a cage.
This cage contains the robotic arm. On one end of the arm is a suction system, which it utilizes to grab items and dump them into the respective bin. The sorter comes at the perfect time for the recycling center. Higher labor costs and a staffing shortage in the wake of COVID-19 have left holes in their usual method of human sorting. The robotic sorter acts in the place of 2 employees, Smith said. I've been able to hire fewer students.
No. Another burn.
I know. And this is interesting. That goes back to the point that I've made in the past, which is these robots are not they're not necessarily putting in danger large amounts of specialized skilled workers.
Not yet, anyway.
You're right. It's the students. It's the first jobbers.
First job.
It's the young people learning responsibility and the value of $1. Well, replacing those jobs with robots not only, causes issues for the human economy and in the job market, but it's slowly chipping away at the amount of young people who are having these formative job experiences, learning what hard work is, learning the value of $1, learning, what having a job is like. Where it's kind of it's a rite of, we don't have a lot of rites of passage in the U.S., but having kind of a crappy job as a young person is like the main rite of passage. And, if you think millennials here, Gen Zers, listen up. Us millennials were the first ones to be called useless.
That is true.
We were the first ones with phones, the first ones with,
internet.
Easily accessible internet, easily accessible video games.
I've said it before. We bridge a serious reset in the world.
Stand on the shoulders of lazy giants, Gen Zers. But even you, dear Gen Z, are you someday will learn. Only in a matter of in less than a decade, the older Gen Zers are going to be feeling the pain of the millennials as whatever next generation Alpha comes up. And not only are they not going to have jobs, the concept of a young person getting a job is going to be so foreign to Generation Alpha. That's your children, Gons. Your children. They're not going to have jobs until they're 30 or something like that, because this is, anyways, the robots. I'm a grumpy old millennial man.
You sound like a grumpy. No,
I'm just saying, man.
I think it's important to point out, and I've pointed it out before, that the millennial generation is the last generation who remembers a time before the internet.
Yes.
We are the last generation, because things definitely were different before the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bottom line.
Listen to this. Along my point, listen to him, Smith.
I know. Yeah, this guy is like, he must already be a robot. I don't think he's a human.
The quote. I've been able to hire fewer students, Smith said. He continues with the quote, "We're gonna keep it that way with the robots. Hopefully we're taking the place of a couple people. We're gonna keep it that way. Get the young people out of here. Get the students out of here."
He must have had a bad experience or two with
this guy
younger
hates
people.
Yes, he's
really upset about it.
Z's getting their fingers caught in machines all the time.
He probably had to pay a big thing.
He probably has to fill out a bunch of paperwork. He is over it. He is ready for the robots. Smith said that installing the new sorter was a bit of a gamble, but it has paid off with the flexibility and overall benefits it provides. Quote, "Anytime you introduce new technology, you're not 100% sure," Smith said. "We're still going to learn it. This thing can sort any material. We can program it to sort it whatever we want. A lot of flexibility. Unlike these stupid students that I have to deal with on a weekly basis."
Yeah.
There you go. There's your Flippy update for the day. And, I think there's an interesting tie-in with Flippy coming into these recycling centers with the new climate change push that's been happening. The robots will save us from our lazy recycling sorters.
Well, the government is going to be very active in funding robots and factories and whatever government ties. I think we'll see a lot of that because, the governments are the ones talking about the Great Reset and the Build Back Better and the whole deal. And they got to kind of walk the walk, too. And that means replacing people, students, with robots and factories and sorting machines and recycling centers. And it's going to happen more.
And it's happening faster and faster.
It's happening faster and faster.
The whole point of continuing with the Flippy update. Been doing it for years, and Flippy is in his prime right now.
Yeah. And we talked about Newsom the other episode where, he's going to ban all motor gas type of stuff by 2024, and spend money. I think it's like $30 million to buy new equipment, new green equipment for the people who use that stuff, lawn mowers, and it's not a good idea. But it's just the extreme of something like this. But at every level, we'll see governments fund this type of thing in the next couple of years, I bet. So.
Oh yeah, I mean we're seeing it now. So it'll continue to happen.
I have a clip, quick clip, 14 seconds. This is just to round out the Flippy update here, and this is more of a visual, but it's a real flesh and blood dog meeting an army of, not even an army, just a few of the Spot walking dog robots. A squadron. There you go.
A kill squad.
Kill squad.
Yeah, she just wants to play.
Yep, so there they go. We live in the future. We live in the dystopia. It is starting.
For those who are just listening, it's a woman walking her dog, and Boston Dynamics Spot is walking by.
3 of them.
And the real dog is a mixture between freaked out and very curious to meet these new friends. And the woman is barely holding on.
Yeah, there's and there's a guy in like military gear. I mean, this looks. Why is it always?
Get used to it, folks.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Let's get into some New World Order / Build Back Better talk.
We are unstoppable. Another world is possible. We are unstoppable.
A new world order
is possible. When do we want it?
Now.
Blah blah blah.
This is MSN.com. It's mirroring a Business Insider article, and the headline is 3,000 Amazon drivers could be owed a combined $191 million in compensation, says a law firm that won employee rights for Uber drivers.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
that's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money.
3,000 people.
A law firm in the UK says it has filed an employee rights claim on behalf of Amazon's fleet of delivery drivers, and that 3,000 drivers could each be owed an average of about $14,300 in compensation for each year they've delivered for the company. As first reported by the BBC, law firm Lee Day announced it had filed the claim on Wednesday. Most Amazon drivers work for DSPs, that's a delivery service partners, meaning they are contracted workers rather than being direct employees of Amazon. The law firm argues drivers should be entitled to employee rights given the amount of control Amazon exerts over them. It said Amazon could owe its drivers as much as $191 million in total compensation. Quote, the figure includes calculations of shortfalls of the national minimum wage. One of the issues that drivers encounter is that they have a lot of expenses in connection to their work, Lee Day's solicitor Kate Robinson told Insider. Robinson said drivers rent vans, are charged large amounts for minor vehicle damage, and have spent lots of money on fuel, all of which affects take-home pay. She said the $191 million calculation also took into account lack of holiday pay and employment contracts. Robinson said the money drivers get the fuel. Robinson said the money drivers get for fuel, quote, is often not sufficient to cover actual fuel costs, as drivers are expected to reattempt deliveries multiple times. Amazon told Insider that drivers receive money for fueling according to mileage calculations by the British Motor Association, the AA, plus up to 10% as a buffer for unforeseen events such as redeliveries. The Amazon spokesperson told Insider, quote, "We're hugely proud of the drivers who work with our partners across the country, getting our customers what they want, when they want it, wherever they are. Quote, we are committed to ensuring these drivers are fairly compensated by the delivery companies they work with and are treated with respect. And this is reflected by the positive feedback we hear from drivers every day." It goes on and on here. I think the point here, to the Flippy update adjacent in this New World Order Build Back Better system, man, it's better to just pay $200 million for a fleet of self-driving cars that won't complain about the gas, they won't sue.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the point. Yeah. I mean, I think Uber notoriously rips off their drivers. Yeah. It's not a fun gig. It's a gig that allows for quick and fairly easy, painless entry if you're really strapped and you need something to happen pretty quick for you financially. But as far as the long-term thing, it's really proven to be a total ripoff. And the pandemic really showed this, because Uber started clamping down even harder on their drivers during the pandemic. And number one, yeah, I hope that these drivers do get what's owed to them. But this is sort of another stepping stone in the inevitable autonomous driver takeover. Get your money while you can, Uber drivers, because it's going out the door pretty soon. Yeah, and they can use a lot of this type of thinking, the same kind of thinking as that boss from the recycling center, and just apply it to the drivers. Well, and for Uber in particular, this is it's these sorts of legal financial losses that compel investors to consent to executives making huge investments in risky technologies. And that's been the game plan for Uber all along. But yeah, I mean, again, it's hard. You can't, it's really hard to, I don't know. It's a confusing situation, because on one hand, you want these drivers to get what they want, or get what they deserve, rather. Yeah. And on the other hand, it's going to be used specifically to take away the jobs of these drivers and replace them with robots. But that's inevitable anyway. So I hope these drivers, can use this money and this opportunity to leverage a future in the robot apocalypse. Yeah, and that's sort of you bring up an important point, which is the investors. Their objectives separate the actual humans doing the work from what the most efficient is, the most financially. And this is sorry. No, go ahead. To interrupt. This is exactly what ESG, encourages in reality, but ESG in ideology is being presented as a way to protect human rights, to protect the interest of humans. That's how it's being presented to the public, but it is exactly ESG that is going to get these drivers to lose their opportunities. Right. Again, I hope they can just get into something else that's more fulfilling and they enjoy more. But it's part of the double-edged sword that is ESG, and just the global Build Back Better, Great Reset ideology of robots will bring us, will finally bring humans happiness and fulfillment by taking away their jobs and putting them all on government stipends. Yeah. Yep. So along these same lines here, you want to take the next one here? Yeah. Pretty gnarly. I've been handling a small emergency, but I think I got it all figured out. Yes, this next one, this is a little spooky. This is coming from NBCNewYork.com. The headline, non-toxic gas to be deployed in 100 plus New York City locations, including transit in bioattack readiness tests. Dun, dun, dun. New York City's response plans for a chemical or biological attack will be put to the test in the coming weeks as part of a federal preparedness study. The MTA says the Department of Homeland Security, working alongside a team of researchers and city agencies, will deploy a non-toxic gas this month at about 120 locations across the city, including transit. Most of the locations will be above ground, including some parks. A number of below-ground subway stations will also be included, though details on which ones weren't known. The test will be conducted in 5 separate days between October 18th and 29th. Strap hangers and anyone in the vicinity of testing operations are advised that the gas is non-toxic and poses no health risk to the public. The study simulates, quote, the aerosol release of a biological agent in a densely populated urban environment. Quote, the study will track movement of non-toxic material, and the results from these tests will be used to learn more about the relationship between airflow in street level and underground environments, the MTA said. Commuters can expect to see teams of researchers working at locations scattered across the city, both above ground and below. The study is part of an ongoing testing under the Federal Urban Threat Dispersion Program. New York City has been tested before, back in 2016, and have other major cities, including Washington, D.C. and Boston. Never a good sign, Gons, when they do a lot of these testings. I mean, for those who pay attention, you know, you've got the Event 201 right before the pandemic. You've got a suspiciously high number of mass shootings happen like days after a mass shooting drill. A drill or some kind of simulation happening nearby. Right, simulation a block away or something. So let me be clear. I am not. We are not claiming to. Be forewarning of a near chemical attack on New York City. We're not trying to be alarmist in that way. On one hand, these are probably good things to understand what they're studying, but it always makes the public a little uneasy, especially if they're paying attention to the frequency of how often something happens very soon after one of these studies. Yes, and some of the history involved with something like this, back in 2015 in November, Business Insider published this article. It's titled, "The Army Tested Germ Warfare on NYC Subway by Smashing Light Bulbs Full of Bacteria." And great. Yeah. Just a couple lines from the article. On June 6th, 1966, a group of U.S. Army scientists made their way into the 7th and 8th Avenue lines of the New York City subway. Some carried air sampling machines in boxes and on belts. Others carried light bulbs. The light bulbs were packed with about 175 grams of Bacillus subtilis bacteria, then known as Bacillus globigii. Approximately 87 trillion organisms in each. The plan was to shatter them and then use the sampling machine to see how they spread through the subway tunnels and trains. This test was one of at least 239 experiments conducted by the military in a 20-year, quote, germ warfare testing program that went on from 1949 to 1969. And then later it says here that quote, during peak hours, these bacteria were dropped. If you can get trillions of bacteria into a light bulb and throw it on the tracks as a train pulls into a station, they'll get pulled through the air as the train leaves. The Army came to that very conclusion, which is documented in a report titled A Study of the Vulnerability of Subway Passengers in New York City to Covert Attacks with a Biological Agent. And the scary results, the report's conclusion is chilling. Quote, test results show that a large portion of the working population in downtown New York City would be exposed to disease if one or more pathogenic agents were disseminated covertly in several subway lines at a period of peak traffic, which is kind of like duh. But they also link to the actual
documents from the 70s, which is kind of interesting to always see. It's an unclassified document based on some FOIA requests. The U.S. Army activity in the U.S. biological warfare programs. And I will drop these links on the in the show notes for everybody if they want to dig into some of the actual documentation from the Army doing this type of thing. The question is, why bring it up again, or why do it again? And what's the? I mean,
to not be completely alarmist, I can see why they would want to do it, every 5 years or so. It is curious how they don't mention what the non-toxic thing is. My assumption would be it would be some sort of,
coronavirus.
Well, I was thinking like radioactive isotope or something.
Yeah.
To see how that is, so they can track it with Geiger counters and stuff like that. But I don't know what it is. But yeah, pretty interesting. I mean, there's also the effect that it will inevitably have of just freaking people out. Teams of scientists and stuff. Who knows what kind of outfits they'll be wearing and equipment they'll be toting around. Maybe a robot or two. Get some spot dogs walking around with them.
If I can peer into the dark mind of the elite, based on the enemy as their leader and guide, I can picture all this mask mandating happening for the pandemic of the COVID-19 thing. Mm-hmm. I can picture the elite justifying it, saying, "We're doing you people a favor. We're going to have a massive biological bio attack." At some point, and the people who wear masks will survive. The people that mocked the mask shall all die from the
I doubt they want to do us any favors. But it is...
it's not a favor in the eyes of the people, but it's to them, they're justifying it as like, we're doing you a favor, people. Believe us. Wear the mask.
Sure. But also it is interesting how, it'll be used once the constant push to wear masks. I mean, we're already coming to a point where it's like, okay, I mean, the pandemic has been what it has been, and we're, people are kind of starting to come out of it. I mean, even Jen Psaki is talking about how we're coming out of the pandemic. So what's the deal with the masks? I mean, are we just wearing these forever for the rest of our lives, even though the pandemic is over, or what? Well, it's testing for how vulnerable New York City is to a biological attack at any moment. You should probably just keep wearing your mask in case something like that happens. Right. So, it gives some justification for continuous mask wearing, even as the pandemic subsides. Yeah.
And if they want to make an example, they can. That's all I'm saying. They could, Hey, if they really wanted to release something, I'm sure they got all kinds of stuff in the toolbox. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of time, purpose, all that stuff. Sure. Okay, so you got anything else you want to say on this one?
No, speaking of masks, we should talk a little bit about COVID-19.
It's COVID-19, 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 coronavirus, a pandemic special.
All right, so we're going to start with the clip here of Howard Catan, CEO of the International Council of Nurses. And he had something interesting to say about this whole thing, and it's right on theme.
Healthcare professionals have said to me, if you think COVID is bad, when it comes to climate change, you ain't seen nothing yet. It's the grandmother of all health threats. COVID and climate change are compounding each other, and they're adding pressures on already weak health systems and staff. And it's why business as usual is not an option. And it's why now we need to truly have health at the centre of all our policies: energy, transport, agriculture, water and food.
Did you notice the droning music underneath it? Right. That's Bloomberg. Like, I don't know what
one of their little clips or something.
I don't know what they're going for with that. Like,
it's very emotional.
It's like, I don't know. It's strange, It's kind of like because they must know that there is half the population who watches this and says, Wow, okay. I mean, they're just like Jen Psaki, like all these politicians, world leaders, they're sort of just admitting that they're rolling out this bigger thing, the COVID compounding, now it's climate again, and you know, the whole narrative there, even calling climate change the grandma of health threats.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
I didn't know climate change was the grandma of health threats. What's the grandpa of health threats?
Joe Biden.
Ah, that makes sense. So just kind of interesting that he would say that, but also the Bloomberg part, just in a production comment, you know, you're supposed to match music with kind of the mood. So I don't know, are they somber about it? Are they like, oh, look what is happening to the world. We are headed down a direction where our world leaders must take great risk. You know, do they see these people as heroes, or like, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I think that sounds right. Yeah, they're just trying to put some emotion behind what the guy is saying. You know, they can't just, you know, report the news. They need to produce an emotional piece to help sway the feelings, the emotions of whoever's partaking of that. And I think the grandma thing might be part of that as well, because, you know, of course, the idiom of saying, you know, this is the mother of all threats. This is the mother of all, you know, the progenitor of threats. But the grandmother of all threats, it's got kind of like a, oh, grandma, we need to pay attention to grandma.
Right.
We can't just ignore grandma.
I know that's the weird thing about the whole concept of comparing that having that emotional NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, the triggers of relating to grandma with anything related to climate change is very strange. But it must have been done with something in mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So here we got another clip of this is the whole Southwest CEO situation. We didn't report on the Southwest thing when it was breaking. Broke last Friday, I think, and then Monday a lot of people were talking about it. But this is CNBC, and the headline is Southwest CEO says he never wanted a COVID vaccine mandate, but Biden forced his hand, which is, I see a lot of political talking back and forth about how that actually works. But I have a video clip here, and he was on with, what's the guy's name? Jim Cramer. I think Jim Cramer in some Squawk Box show on CNBC, and he was talking to him. It's kind of a longer clip, but we'll stop along the way because there's some things that I noticed here. So first, he's talking about how Southwest. So this is interviewing the CEO of Southwest Airlines, and he's talking about how he provides incentives and stuff for the jab. And then it goes on from there.
We're offering the equivalent of 2 days' pay for them to turn in their vaccination card. That compensates them obviously for the time that it takes and any after effects, from the vaccine. So it's an encouragement and not any kind of a stick, if you will.
Gary, all the same, the cancer.
This is not Jim Cramer, by the way. It's like his co-host, and he kind of lays in. The questions get a little more heated as time goes on, but he just noticed that when the CEO starts answering the question, you can hear not the gasp, almost like a mock come out of this co-host here who asked the question.
Cancellations are being used by some to argue that this was a huge vaccine protest, in the words of Donald Trump Jr. on Twitter in the past 24 hours. I mean, how much can you push back on that? You say it was not at issue, but to what degree did it contribute to this problem at all?
Zero. I mean, again, we look at all of our employee behavior.
Did you hear that? He said, shh. Kind of interesting. You don't really see that, but I heard it, and I thought, wow, this guy must not believe what he said, because the question was, how much did the protests have to do with the shutting down? And the CEO says zero.
Zero. I mean, again, we look at all of our employee behaviors in terms of absenteeism, in terms of people volunteering to come in and pick up what's referred to as open time, and they're all very normal. The president of our pilots union has been out talking to the media, confirming all of that. So I think people, again, that understand how airlines work, when you get behind, it just takes several days to catch up. And the fact that we're basically caught up yesterday and today supports the assertion that we're making here. But we were significantly set behind on Friday, and it just takes several days to catch up.
So it's kind of a non-answer.
Yeah. I've read and listened to quite a few number of analyses about the
Southwest situation.
Whatever this was. And I'm not intimately familiar on how like unions work and stuff, but there was an analysis that made sense to me. I mean, it's the only thing that sort of made the whole thing make sense was that, it was a pilot and air traffic control, because air traffic control was a big part of this too. It wasn't just pilots.
Right.
But that gets a little bit less play. Sort of strike or sick out or whatever to sort of protest the mandates. But because it's all unionized, they couldn't quite call it a strike or a protest or stuff or anything like that, because of just the tenuous and a complicated legal structure and relationships between companies and the union.
Right.
For a union to come out and say, this is a strike, we are against the mandates.
Yeah, that's hardcore. It burns the bridge, basically.
Yeah, for them to take a stance on that, especially when, unions can have sort of federal complications for going against a presidential mandate. It's basically, it seems like it was a secret strike or a secret protest from pilots and air traffic control that they're just trying to deal with quietly behind the scenes without drawing too much attention to it.
It's interesting though, because it got politicized. He mentions Donald Trump Jr. picking up on it and calling, confirming that from within that it is an actual strike or a protest type of thing. Yeah. It puts pressure on the traditionally understood legal infrastructure of unions and, the workers and their employers, the kind of legal stuff they got going on. And it could be all part of it too, where like the words need to be redefined now, because part of the people are like, oh, it's a protest, these guys are stepping up, but the CEO has this out of like, nope, had nothing to do with the protest. Yeah. And you get all these people riled up, and what happens when people get riled up? Stuff changes. So
well, it's also, an interesting aspect of it is that airline companies are very heavily subsidized by the federal government.
Yes.
Every airline relies on federal funding to just an enormous amount. They couldn't exist without the federal funding.
Yeah.
So that makes it even more complicated with sort of gaining attention for vaccine federal mandates and stuff like that. Yeah.
This is it goes on here. This is Jim Cramer now, I believe, who comes in, and Jim, I haven't seen a good Jim Cramer clip in a while where he just lays into him to Kelly here from Southwest. It's pretty funny.
Gary, I feel awful doing this, but I got to go back in June. You had 2 days, technical issues, 500 flights canceled. I want to step back for a second. You're Southwest Air. I frankly don't care that there were problems with Florida, with FAA. You're Southwest Air. You solve these things. You have two outages. You had one, you had one in June. Maybe Southwest Air has to change its ways, that it can't be just shut down because of Orlando. Maybe you shouldn't do that. Maybe you need to go more hub and spoke. This is your plane, your airline, and everyone knows that never, no cancellations, no problems. In fact, we have to ask about labor. In fact, we have to ask about sick out. Something's wrong at Southwest Air.
I love that question. Just
what question? That guy is so hard to understand and is so inarticulate.
He's so grumpy. No, he leaves it with something's wrong with Southwest Airline. That's how he leads into.
He's calling
Kelly.
BS. Yeah, he's calling BS on this guy.
Oh, he's so mad. I love it though. It's so good. Okay, so
and everyone knows that never, no cancellations, no problems. In fact, we have to ask about labor. In fact, we have to ask about sick out. Something's wrong at Southwest Air.
Well, I think very fair criticism, Jim. And so I was simply answering the question of what happened here over the weekend, not whether we should have been better prepared or have done something differently. So we operate a linear route network. We don't hub and spoke. We're probably the largest airline in terms of seats offered in the state of Florida. Again, every single airport in the state of Florida was impacted by this. So it's very unique. It's very unusual. It wasn't anything that Southwest caused. If you go back to the June outage, that was us. That was a technology outage, and those are few and far between. But it's been a rough summer, and I'm not offering any excuses. Our customers didn't get their best from Southwest Airlines. Is not what we want. We definitely have some staffing challenges as well that we've talked about before. So we have moderated our flight schedule and accelerated our hiring plans. So there were definitely steps underway to mitigate the issue. We were thinly staffed coming into the weekend, and that certainly didn't help things as we were trying to recover. But point well taken, and it's as usual, any company is a work in progress, and we've always got opportunities to improve. And you get no argument from me that this is not the kind of service that we want to offer from Southwest.
I can see why he's the CEO.
Yeah,
he does a good job of just kind of dodging it, settle things down, like. Okay,
not denying the problem, but not necessarily admitting some sort of incompetence.
Right.
Yeah.
And somebody in the chat was saying, I think it is important to point out that he did say that he wasn't really all for the mandate, but he also said that Biden forced my hand, and so that goes back to the money trail. How everything works with airlines, or not just the money trail, but the you said subsidized, right?
Yeah. Well, they're funded. Their subsidization, their funding, they have to comply. Or as a CEO, he is fiduciarily obligated to comply, because to not comply would cause problems for his shareholders, and that's his whole job, is to protect the shareholders.
Right.
So he literally had no choice than to, quote unquote, comply.
It's interesting
with mandates.
It's interesting because it's kind of the same relationship that advertisers have with content creators.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's exactly right. Yeah, as a content creator, if you become fiduciary, not legally and not technically, and this wouldn't hold up in court, but you are something akin to fiduciarily responsible for your advertisers,
right?
Or else you get punished for it.
Yep.
Same thing with CEO and investors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got an interesting one here. I was actually going to bring this to last episode, but it didn't quite make it. But I think it's an important thing to go over as we track the narratives about the filthy, unvaccinated animals and people who are affected by COVID in different ways. This is coming from the San Francisco Chronicle.com, and the headline is, "Here's what Bay Area doctors say about how COVID affects the brain." Keep in mind, I think that's very apropos, how they're specifically saying, this is what Bay Area doctors say about COVID.
There's a special group of doctors.
A certain breed. This is California They're saying California doctors, but not just California doctors. This is Silicon Valley, Bay Area, center of the wheel California doctors. And it reads like this. While driving recently, Cliff Morrison suddenly found himself lost in a forest. He pulled over, looked around, and realized he was actually on a tree-lined street half a mile from his home in the Oakland Hills, heading to the post office. Morrison, 70, did not have dementia. He had COVID-19. Since his diagnosis in April 2020, Morrison, a healthcare administrator, has experienced a mysterious and mercifully brief loss of orientation 4 or 5 times, most recently around Labor Day and always near home. It no longer frightens the bejesus out of him. Now he's just curious. So are his doctors. Quote, there are viruses that can cause cognitive issues in otherwise healthy people, and COVID is clearly one of them, said Dr. Joanna Helmuth, a UCSF neurologist. A new study from Oxford University offers the worrisome suggestion that the coronavirus not only can shrink the brain, but also reduce, quote, gray matter thickness, damage tissue in areas associated with the sense of smell, and cause more than 60 other long-term changes to that essential organ. The study, published August 18th, has not yet been peer-reviewed. Oh, okay.
SF Chronicle.
Yes, well, it's another example of the mainstream media picking and choosing which peer-reviewed or which non-peer-reviewed scientific study is worth reporting on, and which non-peer-reviewed study is conspiracy theory.
Yeah. The views to debunk. If it's a if it's something against the narrative, they'll say, "Well, it's not even peer-reviewed." But if it helps the narrative, or instills fear, then
it's not peer-reviewed, but don't worry, it's still important.
Yep.
Like the more of this picking and choosing from the mainstream. But it's attracting attention because the researchers were able to compare hundreds of brain scans of the same people before and after COVID hit. Of the 785 participants, 401 tested positive for the coronavirus before their second scan, giving researchers a unique opportunity to see how each brain may have changed as a result.
401st episode, 401 tested positive.
Look at that. Okay.
Some synchronicities.
Yeah, we've actually mentioned the study before, but there's something in this article that is worth
highlighting.
Yeah. Strikingly, the changes occurred whether people had been hospitalized for COVID or had only had a mild case. Not sure why that's so striking, but okay. Quote, in the general population, it is normal to see some change in gray matter volume or thickness over time as people age, but the changes were larger than normal for those who had been infected with COVID-19. Jessica Bernard, a cognitive neuroscientist at Texas A&M, who is not involved with the study, wrote in an essay reprinted last month in Scientific American. Just make a quick note. I would be very curious if the actual study mentions anything about the spike protein, because we know the spike protein can cross the blood-brain barrier.
Right.
And, of course, spike protein associated with the vaccine mechanism there. I wonder if anybody's doing a study on whether the vaccine has a similar effect or not. Just curious. Bernard noted that the affected brain regions were, quote, all linked to the olfactory bulb, which sends signals from the nose to the brain. It also connects to the temporal lobe, home of the hippocampus, which is key to memory and cognition. She and other scientists declined to draw conclusions from the preliminary study, but Bernard said other research has pointed to a link between a reduced sense of smell and Alzheimer's disease, making the new study that much more intriguing. Questions still outnumber answers. Researchers wonder if the damage is from the disease spreading elsewhere in the body or from the virus entering the brain, perhaps through the nose, from neuroinflammation caused by the infection or something else. And can it be reversed? From 15% to 36% of COVID survivors report memory loss, cognitive deficits, or trouble concentrating, according to a Stanford University analysis of 13 studies published in May in the American Medical Association's JAMA Network Open publication. Other viruses use an array of techniques to wreak havoc on the brain. Rabies and polio enter brain cells and attack from within, said UCSF neurologist Dr. Samuel Pleasure. Shingles and herpes simplex are more devious, hibernating like a bear until severe stress wakes them up, often years later. HIV uses yet another ruthless approach, better understood as people lived longer with that disease, in which the virus enters the brain and lingers, torturing its victims slowly over time. Quote, HIV gets in the brain and stays in, Helmuth said, but it's very hard to find COVID in the brain. So what's going on? A 30-year-old Connecticut man provides one clue. Oh, we've got a clue, Gons. His story, co-written by Pleasure of UCSF, was posted in August. Within days of getting a fever and a COVID diagnosis, the man came to believe a religious rapture was imminent and thought he was speaking with dead relatives. He kicked down a door. He shoved his mother. He was hospitalized, but discharged after doctors found no reason for his sudden psychosis. He was back in less than 2 weeks. His face... Oh my gosh. Sorry, my VR thing sent me off into the mountains. He was back in less than 2 weeks, his face expressionless and his speech and thinking dulled. A blood test identified high levels of two proteins, ferritin and D-dimer, hinting at a culprit, systemic inflammation. That led... systemic inflammation, kind of like
the S protein. Yeah, it does mention ferritin and D-dimer and not the S protein, so it sounds like a different thing, but also
S protein.
That's a spike protein.
I know. Is that your secret way of not getting on the algos or something?
No. That's how kind of a lot of the medical journals reference it as S protein. At least the ones I've seen. They don't they don't always say spike protein, but I haven't found anything. In at least one of the studies here, I'm looking at the Med Archive thing. I don't see the spike protein mentioned. So
well, yeah, I mean that's the interesting part. They're not even mentioning the spike protein, where the Salk Institute mentioned how the spike protein was causing crazy inflammation and how.
But that was the heart, though. This is the brain. So there's
sure. Well, this is systemic inflammation. So it's talking about
the whole body.
Like a broad range of inflammation.
Yeah.
I don't know. That led his doctors to suspect the coronavirus had triggered the inflammation, which caused an immune response that, instead of controlling the infection, quote, turned into a problem of its own, Pleasure said. In this case, psychosis.
Oh.
Yeah, so
scary.
Believing in a religious rapture was imminent.
Rapture
is psychosis.
Psychosis.
I do think it's interesting how they didn't try to break into the realm of, and he was on Q forums and suddenly became obsessed with President Donald Trump.
Well, I thought it was interesting because they said that he thought he was talking to the dead. It's not usually a kind of a Christian view on things. You don't communicate with the dead unless you're more into the the occultic or some new age side of
spiritualism type of thing. Yeah. So doctors at Yale New Haven Hospital chose a treatment typically aimed at autoimmune diseases and infused the man with intravenous immunoglobulin made of purified antibodies from thousands of people. Is believed to work by swamping out abnormal antibodies. The man's delusions vanished. He returned to work and has remained healthy. So they cured his
rapture,
his rapture ideations. Watch out, folks. At UCSF, Pleasure is continuing to investigate such COVID-induced autoimmunity beyond psychosis. The domino effect of COVID inflammation and autoimmunity appears to cause other neurologic complications, including encephalopathy, changes in brain function, encephalitis, brain inflammation, and Guillain-Barré syndrome, muscle weakness from peripheral nerve inflammation. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I have never heard of catching COVID causing Guillain-Barré syndrome. we've really only heard Guillain-Barré syndrome coming from as a vaccine side effect or adverse event, rather.
Huh.
This is the first time I've ever heard of Guillain-Barré syndrome being an actual COVID symptom.
Interesting.
It's kind of weird, huh? Understanding more about COVID and autoimmunity may offer new treatment options, Pleasure said. And it kind of just continues to talk about some, I don't know, I can finish it out. We're only a few paragraphs away here. Going mad isn't a typical post-COVID symptom. Going mad.
He's gone mad.
It's so interesting. He's going mad. He's delusional. He's psychosis. He believes a religious rapture is imminent. It's just very strange. But it appears to be caused by inflammation and autoimmunity. So Pleasure and other experts were asking whether the brain fog so many experience after COVID is a weaker version of the same thing. However, he said, we don't have the answer yet.
Oh, they don't have the answer yet when it comes to that, but they can definitely call people crazy, mad, psychosis.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's Bay Area, California doctors. Oh, he believes in a rapture?
I know.
Look, I'm not even saying the guy wasn't delusional or had some psychosis
something going on,
event.
pushing his mom or whatever. Yeah, there's stuff going on for sure.
He had something going on. He became violent. He pushed his mom. He yelled at people. He became irritable and irrational, obviously. But to add a religious belief into the categorization of psychosis and delusion and going mad is it's just such a perfect Bay Area, California doctor thing.
It implies that people outside of California, out of San Francisco, especially the southern states, a lot of religious people who believe in a rapture, they're all suffering from shrinked brains.
Yeah, right. They're all suffering. Yes, right. The shrinking brains due to they're just filthy, flea-ridden with COVID.
Yeah, and the doctor
lousy with it.
The doctor that they quote here, Helmuth, sounds like a hell mouth.
Got him. For months after getting COVID, Morrison had to hold on to walls while walking because he felt like he was moving sideways. He suffered headaches.
Something's wrong with him.
Yeah, this is the 70-year-old, by the way.
Oh, this is a 7-year-old. Okay.
This is the old guy.
All right.
He suffered, I believe, I could be wrong. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Forgetfulness, dizziness, mood swings that had him lashing out verbally 1 minute and crying the next. Some neurological stuff lingers, he said, of the symptoms that arrived with COVID. Now he keeps a sofa for restorative cat naps in his Castro Valley office and participates in UCSF's coronavirus neurocognitive study, where Helmuth is principal investigator.
Oh, good. He's a caged animal now.
Yeah.
Like he's like a specimen of an experiment.
Yeah. While there's a lot doctors don't know, Helmuth said Morrison's confusion while driving isn't a total mystery. After COVID, many people aren't able to handle a high burden of information coming in all at once, as driving requires. Helmuth is working with the National Institutes of Health to develop a large study of post-COVID symptoms called RECOVER. Recovery is what Morrison hopes for. Quote, I've come right out and asked if I and people like myself will ever fully recover, he said, but they don't go that far. They say it's still too early to tell. You may never recover, Gons.
I hope the rapture, I'm not a preacher rapture guy, but I kind of hope it is for this guy, you know, just so he can say, told ya.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That's it for our COVID proper. We've got some Wackchine news coming up after the break. But, Gons, what do you say we take a second and thank some producers?
Let's do it.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere because after the break, we've got more show for you. We're going to be getting into some Wackchine updates, talking about Australia, some more Catholic updates there. We're also going to be checking in with childhood vaccinations, and we'll poke in, see what's going on with some money news as well. But before that, we want to thank some producers, and you heard me correctly. I said independent producers because we are on the value for value model, which means we create value. We do it 3 times a week, and we try our very hardest at it. And if you get any value out of what we do, you have the opportunity or the responsibility to put some value back in. It's the only way this show works because, as you may notice, we have no advertisements, no affiliate codes. We're not selling any super secret mail enhancement supplements or freedom phones. Nope, we are entirely funded by producers of the show. And that's exactly what they are, because if you pay to have a piece of media produced, then you are a producer. And the reason we are on the value for value model is because, as we mentioned earlier in the show, much like how a CEO is beholden to investors against his better judgment and his conscience, once a media creator starts taking money from advertisers, they are responsible for towing the line of whatever the advertiser feels is the correct position for the content creator to take. And if the content creator veers from whatever official narrative the advertiser is pushing, then the money dries up. It's a form of taking content creators hostage. And it is not a good way to keep independent media independent. And that's why here we have no ads, no corporate money whatsoever, no YouTube, no Twitch, no advertisements, no mid-rolls, any things like that. And no corporate money means no corporate influence. Keep that in mind as you are navigating the internet and taking information in from different places. So, and we believe no corporate influence is the only way to truly have independent media. And, it may not be the most profitable way to run the show, but at least we can sleep at night. And if you, dear listener, appreciate the integrity that hopefully that brings to the show, then you have an opportunity to become a producer. And it's very simple. It's, what value do you get out of the show? Do you get educated or entertained, or does the analysis help the way you think about the world and think about the news that is bombarding you every day? Do we help sort of pare it down so at least what we're focusing on? There's certain things to focus. Do you hear news on this show that you don't hear anywhere else? These are the things to keep in mind when you are considering becoming a producer of the show, because it's very simple. When the producers stop producing, the show just stops getting produced. And that's not a threat. That's just the way the world works. And so if you're out there, if you've been listening to the show for any number of episodes and you get any value out of what we do, please consider becoming a producer of the show. Everybody should become a producer at least once, feel good about giving back to the community. And it's not just giving to Gons and I, but it's also helping provide the show and the community to all the listeners around the world. You're becoming a part of the system, which is very cool. All right, Gons, are you ready to thank some producers?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Well, the first way to become a producer, folks, is you can head over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. That's patreon.com/CCNT. And last I checked, we had no new producers over there. But we do have patreon.com/CanaryCry.Radio as well. Now, you are currently listening to Canary Cry News Talk, but Canary Cry Radio is a show that we've been doing since 2012. It's interview style. It's a bit of a different vibe than this one, but it's filled with awesome interviews and topical episodes. We highly recommend you go check it out. But we had someone come in over on the Patreon for Canary Cry Radio, and we want to thank them here. And that is our new upgrading producer Adam M.
Thank you, Adam M, for the upgrade.
That's right. Thank you very much, Adam M. And that's all for Patreon, Gons. But hey, dear listener, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. A lot of people don't like Patreon. That's why we have CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
That's right. CanaryCry.Radio.com is a wonderful place where you can support the show with your cryptocurrency, if that's what you're into. You can also become a monthly supporter of the show, which we love our monthly supporters. They've committed to supporting the show on a monthly basis to lay down a firm foundation to the show when certain, sometimes episodes producership is lower than usual. The monthly producers help supplement that when that happens. So thank you very much, monthly producers. But if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and make a one-time producership in any amount. Gons, who do we have coming in over there?
All right. The first person to thank here that came in with their treasure is Aaron J.
Aaron J. And Aaron J is on a streak. That's right. Aaron J comes in with $63 and a note here that says level 63. Wow. He's talking about his Fortnite level, folks. He just keeps crushing it. And the note continues, can I have a nobody likes you booster and a Schwarzenegger screw your freedoms if you have it? Blessings. Well, blessings back to you, Aaron J. Thank you for your support. And Gons, do we have those jingles for him?
Not ready.
Okay. Well, that gives me a second to simply stall for Gons so he can find those jingles on the jingle board. But we're very proud of Aaron J. He's our Canary Cry Fortnite competitor, and he always makes sure to come in and support the show in the dollar amount of his current Fortnite level, which the new season just recently started, and he's already up to 63. So he's our Canary Cry gamer boy, and we're very proud of you, Aaron.
All right, here we go.
You know what? Nobody likes you, Booster. Screw your freedom.
That's true. Nobody likes you, Booster, except for Schwarzenegger.
Kind of goes together there. Let's go.
Yeah, it does. Makes sense now. Thank you very much, Aaron J.
Thank you, Aaron J.
Did I say he had been supporting the show for 22 episodes in a row?
Yes. I don't know if you said that, actually, but you did say he was on a streak. So.
I said it now. Thank you very much, Aaron J.
Thank you, Aaron J. Next up, we have Cherie. Oh, sorry. Wrong button. Cherie.
Producer Cherie H comes in. Great to hear from you, Producer Cherie. Comes in with 43.33 and says, Hola, Canarians. Today's dollar amount reflects the number of times I have traveled completely around the sun. Yes, on Tuesday, October 12th, I will have returned to this point in space 43 times. As a gift to me today, I would like two things. One, I would like to hear the happy birthday jingle. We can do that for you. And two, I would like to give the following shout out to my awesome mother, Yvonne, who is currently visiting us here in Georgia from Colorado. Dear Mother, this is directly to Yvonne. Listen up, Yvonne. Dear Mother, having you here has been such an awesome gift. I am eternally grateful to have you, to have had you as a mom and to have you now as a friend. Thank you for showing me what it means to walk by faith and how to be a grace giver. I want you to know that I'll love you forever. I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, your daughter I'll be. Cherie H. And she ends the note with Illuminati handler message complete. Yes, thank you very much. What a very sweet time. And yes, let's give her that happy birthday jingle.
Yep.
Happy birthday. And shout out to Yvonne. Sounds like they're having a wonderful visit together. Always good when your mother becomes a friend.
This is the most convinced I've ever been to consider becoming an Illuminati handler. They're sweet, such sweet people.
So sweet. Yes, and she comes with 4333, of course, signaling her Illuminati handlership. Thank you very much, Producer Cherie H.
Thank you, Cherie.
Illuminatus!
That's what you are. Next up, we have Heather Russ.
Heather Russ is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule!
15 episodes in a row, which means Heather Russ has reached the level of Rocket Man.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out here alone.
Isn't he going to space?
I was going to say, we didn't put the story in the show, but I woke up to an explosion of news that William Shatner is going to space with Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, here's the story here from CBS News. Mm-hmm. He chose Bezos out of all the people he could have chosen.
I don't think he chose anything. He's like 90 years old.
He is 90 years old.
In charge. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, this is part of the PSYOP. Get the guy who brought space into the homes of all Americans and people across the world.
Yeah.
Now gets to fly to the firmament.
Well, it's advertising for Jeff.
Yes.
But Heather Russ sends in 1633, another one of our Illuminati handlers for the day. And a note that says, "Hey, Bands and Gozzel, we sent you this for John 16:33. I have said these things to you, that by means of me you may have peace. In the world you are having tribulation, but take courage. I have conquered the world. Keep doing what you're doing. Much love, Heather Russ." Thank you very much, Heather Russ.
Thank you, Heather Russ. Next up, we have Jackie U.
Yes, Jackie U comes in with 1111 recurring monthly producership. Thank you very much, Jackie U.
All right, thank you, Jackie. Next up, we have Juan A.
Juan A comes in, and Juan A is on a streak. 28 episodes in a row. Came in a few times, actually. 1111 and pocket full of threes and pocket full of fours. And a note here that says, "You bros are awesome. Thanks. For real, can't wait till we're all jamming in heaven. Saw that banjo, sunglasses, orange pants, man vid, and I was like, yup, them my peoples, LOL. We will jam one day, my bros. One day, God bless." And then sent another note, a little bit different here, that says, "I'm asking for help, please. I just got a call. My sister has passed, and my parents are taking very, very hard. Please help pray for my parents, Juan and Rosalinda. My sister's name was Angelica. I am so broken, and I'm deeply saddened, but God's in control." Yes, this is horrible, horrible news. So we must assemble the producers, guys.
Producers, assemble!
That's right. Producers from all around the world are assembling now to put Juan A. and Juan and Rosalinda and the whole family and the whole community over there, just to put them on the prayer list, pray for peace and strength and comfort. And this is just a horrible situation, Juan A. I'm so sorry to hear about this.
Yeah.
His sister's name was Angelica. And so, yeah, there you go. This is, I hate to hear this kind of stuff, especially, I mean, this is obviously, it's always a shock, but, considering just got the call. That is a horrible time in life, and we're with you here, Juan A.
Yeah, we pray for you, buddy.
And we got people praying for you all around the world. So
sorry to hear about that.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
All right. Next up, we have producer Morv.
Yes, producer Morv, and producer Morv is on a streak.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that when putting this together. Looking for the streak number. He has been supporting the show for 7 episodes in a row.
All right.
Comes in for 1061 and says, "Es miércoles, mi amigos." Yes, it is. Great time celebrating episode 400 with everyone on Monday. Looking forward to another 400 plus episodes with Basil and Gonzo and this great community. Love y'all. Thank you very much, producer Morv.
Thank you, Morv. Why does that sound so daunting? Like I guess when we got to 400,
one episode
you think
at
about
a time.
the 400 we've done. It's like, oh my gosh, got to go through that whole thing again.
That's only a couple years. That's only like 3 years.
True.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Morv. Next up, we have JC.
JC is on the street. 23 episodes in a row. JC comes in for 831. That's a pocket full of 7s plus fees. And he says, "Hey guys, so thankful for the show and all you do. Hope you both have a blessed day." Thank you very much, JC.
Thank you, JC. Next up,
and unto you.
Oh, yes. Next up, we have Child of God.
Child of God is on a streak. 7 episodes in a row. Comes in with 2 batches of 831, pockets full of 7s. And a note here, Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. From Child of God. Thank you very much, Child of God.
Thank you, Child of God. Next up, we have Robert C.
Robert C. came in with 831. That's a pocket full of 7s plus fees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
No note. Yep.
Next up, Mark D.
Mark D is on a streak. 3 episodes in a row, which means Mark D's heating up, baby.
He's heating up.
Came in with 821. Not sure how you would get to that number, but thank you very much, Mark D.
Discount wherever Mark D is.
Yeah, you got a discount on the PayPal fees.
Yeah, PayPal, not as harsh. All right, next up we have Learbag.
Learbag comes in and sends a note that says, "This is for Jason. You know who you are and what you've done. You've done this, Jason. Could Jason be a B&G psyop? Possibly. If so, it worked. So either way, you deserve this. Dono. Take it. Don't tell my left hand. Thanks, guys." Jason? Who is this mysterious figure, Jason, who made Learbag give us donation?
We have been turned into a vehicle for some of these.
I guess there's secret messages going on, but if this mysterious Jason is going around getting people to produce the show, more power to you, Jason. Keep doing the good work.
Jason Bourne?
It's probably Jason Bourne.
Sweet.
Probably Jason Bourne broke into Learbag's house, gave him a couple uppercuts.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Just picturing Matt Damon crawling into his window.
Yeah.
Right, so next up, we have Ciara.
Producer Ciara is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule!
And she's been supporting the show for 33 episodes in a row, baby. And that's right. You finally made it to 33.
Oh, this is a great occasion because Learbag.
I know. Hold on.
Okay. All right.
That means producer Ciara has made it to the level of the illuminated lizard master shill. Dun, dun, dun.
Officially solidified illuminated lizard master shill.
The most exciting streak. The most exciting streak. There you go. Yes, we had to change the Learbag sent that in. We'll thank him a little bit later, but we finally got a jingle for streak number 33. And Ciara came in with a pocket full of 7s and says, "I have to finish Genesis 1. I ain't no quitter." Yes, Ciara's project of getting Genesis 1 entirely read on the show was one of the sort of collateral damages that happened with our note reading cutoff. But she ain't no quitter, and she's making it happen.
And she's close. It's only a few days
she's
off.
Close. Yeah, so there you go. We're just squeezing Ciara.
At least we didn't do this right when she did Genesis 2:1 or something, and then her commitment would have been a little more intense.
That's right. You are persevering, running the good race, fighting the good fight, Ciara. We believe in you. And here it is, Genesis 1:28. "And God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." Genesis 1:28 ESV. Thank you very much, producer Ciara.
Thank you, Ciara. And next up, I lost my document here. Next up, we have Gail M.
Gail M is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule!
38 episodes in a row. She comes in with a pocket full of 7s and a note. Hola, hermanos dolce. I need to ask for prayer for me. I wasn't allowed to enter the oncology center with my brother because of COVID, but after 4 weeks, his treatment is still on hold. So they're okay letting his cancer keep threatening his life, but God forbid I give someone COVID. I have no idea if and when he will get the care he deserves. They haven't even set up the biopsy.
Wow.
Needing help letting God take control. Please pray for me. XXXXXX. Oh. And that means the producers need to assemble.
Producers, assemble!
That's right. We're praying for Gail and Gail's brother and the whole situation. This is something they've been dealing with for a little while here. The COVID restrictions making it incredibly difficult to get the proper health care for in the oncology center and things going on like that. So we'll be praying for you, Gail. And yes, things got to break sometimes. Things got to get easier, but we'll be praying for you that you get access to all the healthcare. You and your brother get access to all the healthcare services you need, and that again, this is part of the sort of sinister, silenced, dark side of all these mandates, that it's killing people. The mandates are killing people.
Yeah.
Not the
No, it's the unvaccinated.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. That's what they want you to think. So there you go. Thank you to all of our producers. Let me just do a quick little double check in case, just so we don't need to do this on the second half. Nope. Okay. Looking good. So those are all of our producers over the amount of $7.77. So thank you very much. But we've got some more producers to read through here, Gons. Are you ready to thank them as well?
Let's do it.
First of all, we got Linda T. Oh, wait. You say the names.
Okay.
Or should I say it? We're in new territory.
It doesn't matter.
Here.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Let me run through and we can give them a little ding-a-ling.
Sure.
So we got Linda T comes in for $7.19. Thank you, Linda T.
Thank you, Linda T.
We've got producer Isaac. Wait a second. Producer Isaac G comes in. I think maybe Isaac was one of the ones who maybe didn't get the message about the note reading.
Okay.
Might need to. We'll address this, Isaac. Thank you.
Thank you, Isaac G.
$5. Veronica D comes in.
Thank you, Veronica D.
Veronica D is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule!
36 episodes in a row. Thank you very much, Veronica D. Then we have producer Vladimir S.
Vladimir S.
Vladimir S is on a streak.
All right.
2 episodes in a row. Pocket full of 4s. Thank you very much. Then we got the one and only Scott K.
Scott K.
Scott K is on a streak.
Yeah, he is.
61 episodes in a row. He's on his way.
Yep.
Next up, we have producer Dr. Who Done Dat.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Who Done Dat.
He's also on a streak. 6 episodes in a row, which means Dr. Who Done Dat is on fire.
Yeah.
That's right. Comes in with a pocket full of 3s plus fees. Next up, we have producer Kayla C.
Thank you, Kayla C.
Kayla C comes in with a pocket full of 3s plus fees on a recurring monthly producership. Thank you very much, Kayla.
Thank you, Kayla. Next up, I'm used to doing the next one.
It's all good. Next up, we have producer Sir Salmon's Night of the Fishes.
All right.
Sir Salmon's is on a streak. 15 episodes in a row, which means Sir Salmon, oh my gosh, what a great day to be hitting Rocket Man status.
Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out here alone.
He gets to be literal. He was literally talking about today.
He gets to actually become a Rocket Man.
And
Sir Salmon's came in with a pocket full of 3s plus fees.
Thank you, Sir Salmon's.
Next, we have producer Jaded Dave.
Thank you, Jaded Dave.
Comes in with 333. Next, we have.
I think we're all jaded.
Next, we have producer Brandon W.
Or Brant.
Yes. What did I said? Brandon.
You said Brandon.
Let's Go Brandon on the brain. Thank you very much, producer Brant W. Brant is on a streak. 25 episodes in a row, comes in with pocket full of threes. Thank you, Brant.
Thank you, Brant.
Next up, we have producer Casey the Shield Knight. And of course, Sir Casey's on a streak.
He's the grandma of streaking.
Sir Casey is the streaking grandma. Thank you very much, Sir Casey. 70 episodes in a row. Heading towards that 77. You know, we did a good job getting that jingle before 66. So we got to think of one for 77. I think we've workshopped it before, but something about perfection.
Perfection, yeah. There's some perfection.
The streak is the streak of perfection.
It's all downhill after that.
Sir Casey coming in for a pocket full of threes. Next, we have producer Sarah P.
Thank you, Sarah P.
Sarah P is on a streak.
Yeah, she's on a streak.
Women rule! 2 episodes in a row and a pocket full of threes. Thank you very much, Sarah P. Lastly, we have producer Runk Smash. And Runk Smash is on a streak. 25 episodes in a row. And yes, another piece of collateral damage from the note limit. But Runk Smash's microfictions, they're technically art, Gons. So we're going to be addressing the microfiction stuff in the art section. So thank you very much, Runk Smash, for your continued support of the show.
Yep. All right.
Okay, that's everybody.
Cool. I think the cutoff is
feels
tough,
good,
but it does help move the show along in terms of covering more topics. So
yes,
it's a trade-off.
It saved us, looking at the timing of this break, that saved us about 25 minutes. And we hope that everybody still feels loved and appreciated for producing the show. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
And yes, just for those who may have missed it and want a little, just making sure everybody is notified, there has been a cutoff for note reading instituted at $7.77. And this is for the simple fact that it helps us save time on the show, and Gons is constantly late for family events, and he's a great father. But the show running long is putting that title in jeopardy. So we thank everybody for the sacrifice that you are making.
I don't think you downplay it. This is like life or death. You know, I have a very powerful wife. She's very influential, and she has a lot of sway in whether I live or die. And so
that's true.
This is more than just a time-saving effort or a title threat.
Saving Gonz's
saving my life, people.
Existence by instituting this cutoff.
Yes.
But remember, if you have a note you absolutely want read on the show, which we love your notes, just come in at the pocket full of sevens amount or higher. And there you go. All right. Do we want, since we saved so much time on this break, do we want to announce the knife giveaway?
You want to announce it now, or you want to do it in the second break?
You know, I was thinking the second break, we also have to read some reviews.
Oh, right. Okay.
So maybe this is the time to do it. You know?
All
right. So we're going to do that. And yes, it's a very fun giveaway. It was a short-term giveaway, but we had a lot of great people join the newsletter, and those who are on the newsletter list are in the raffle to win a custom Canary Cry News Talk blade, crafted, forged by the hammer of producer Nigel, who's so generously made this available to us. And Gonzo, I've got the list of emails here, our entire newsletter list, and I've got a random number generator.
All right. I got a drum roll here, if you're ready.
Here we go. Yes. Yeah, I have it going for a little bit. I'm going to hit the random number generator here. Yes. Okay. Now I'm going over to our list. finding the number of this person. Okay. Find the name of this person. Sorry. Should have practiced this. Okay, I got it.
All right, hold on. There we go.
Virginia D. Unbelievable. There you go. Newsletter receiver, producer, listener, Virginia D. Congratulations. We are going to... Jeez Louise. We're going to put you in contact with Nigel. But here's the thing. We do have some things. Hopefully, either you are watching live or you listen to this episode soon, because there is a time limit. If you do not claim the prize by the time Gons comes back from vacation, we'll just need to, I don't know, maybe do a redraw or something. But I'm trusting Virginia D will be paying attention to her email or listening to the show.
All right.
Okay, there we go. Nigel, we'll put you in contact with Virginia D there.
Excellent. That was fun.
Yes, and there's quite a number of people who signed up for the email list, which we are very happy for, and we think you're going to be quite pleased with the newsletter that goes out every week. All right. Time to wake up.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
What are we talking about now? Oh, we're doing vaccines.
Vaccine. Number one way.
All right. We're going to go to Victoria here. This is Michael Gunner. And, man, they just keep dialing it up over there in the land down under.
So it is simple. If your job includes interacting with members of the public, then you need to get the jab. If you work in hospitality, you need to get the jab. If you work in retail or in a supermarket, you need to get the jab. If you are behind the counter at the bank, if you're a receptionist or positions like that, you need to get the jab. If you're a barber, a hairdresser, a beauty therapist, you need to get the jab. All these workers and many, many more directly interact with members of the public. That means you are frontline workers in our economy. That means you must be vaccinated. Of course, there can be exemptions, but these are extremely narrow and must be backed up with medical evidence. Simply not wanting the vaccine is not a reason. From Saturday, the 13th of November, if you have not received at least your first dose of a vaccine, you will not be permitted to attend your workplace in that role, and a failure to comply with the direction is a $5,000 fine.
Woo.
That means that workers must have received at least their first dose by Friday, the 12th of November, at the latest. You have 30 days.
Threats.
Yeah. $5,000 fine. That's
insane.
As if just losing your job wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, the mass, what is it called? Mass uncompliance. What was it? There's some word for it.
Non-compliance?
Non-compliance, yeah. Uncompliance, non-compliance. There's got to be a segment of the Australian population that just says no, right?
Oh, like there certainly is, yeah.
So, I mean, it's really getting to that point where it's almost like a harvesting of the businesses that will work with the government.
It's a transfer of wealth is what it is.
Well, yeah,
it's
that too.
A transfer of wealth from the non-compliant to the totalitarian government, which, you know, the totalitarian government sounds like they're fine either way.
It's I don't know. We always kind of knew it was inching more and more towards this direction, but to actually hear it come out of the mouth of a chief minister, it's pretty wild. But and also, I think it's very strange that they always, you know, he talks about the scientific reasoning for not getting a vaccine, but then he says like you have to get at least one jab, which is not.
Which is unvaccinated.
It's unvaccinated. It's not the scientific definition of fully vaccinated. It's not about
the science. It's not about the safety of the individual. It's about compliance. It's about the economics of you know, the pharma companies. You know, there's been the leaks about the deals, the Pfizer contracts with Brazil, and you got to know that Australia probably has similar contracts with Pfizer.
Yeah.
Who knows if they don't hit a certain dollar amount of jabs given. You don't know. Maybe they have some military bases who will be given up to Pfizer if they don't hit the goals or something. It's just there's all sorts of weird stuff like that that's come forward with Pfizer's and other big pharma contracts with nation states. So I could see how the tyrannical government is like, we got to jab all these babas, or else we're going to lose our military bases.
Well, and thinking about the whole concept of the universal basic income, I don't know if that's even a thing that is being discussed in Australia or had been in the past. But if they move in that direction, it truly is it is again a motif of the mark of the beast in many different ways, because you're getting paid government money, for your living expenses, whatever it is, like a stipend, but you have to comply to government rules and regulation and all that, and part of that has to do with being inoculated. So
yeah, but they don't even need to bring it that far. They're just saying you can't even get any money at all. This is sort of mark of the beast adjacent. Doesn't meet all the requirements, but
it's a motif. It's 100% motif.
One of the big things that people were calling others conspiracy theorists. Hey, don't you know you're going to need to get your vaccine and have your vaccine papers in order to work and make money for your family? They're going to force it on you. And if you don't, they're going to charge you money for not being coerced into getting the vaccine. You're a conspiracy theorist. That's crazy. Go vote for Trump, you orange man. And here we are, the reality of the situation.
So,
all right.
I was just want to play this clip, and it's probably going to flag some whatever on YouTube, but who cares? There was a rhythm to Michael Gunner here. You have to get the jab. It's like everybody's turning into spoken word rap battle, like the governments, all these people. And in that spirit, there's a woman that laid out the rationale for why it's really ridiculous that they're pushing the mandate of the vaccines on to the public. And she does it in this 14-second clip, and there's some copywritten music under it, but whatever. The point being is her rant summarizing it. I thought it was pretty good.
Why do the protected need to be protected from the unprotected by forcing the unprotected to use the protection that didn't protect the protected in the first place?
Slam that podium. Drop the mic. Walk away. Yeah. It's true.
Well, her mistake is that thinking that this is logical. It's not logical. The logic... She's very sound in her logic, but these people don't care about logic.
Yeah, I know. But I like it when it's a concise 14-second rant that has a rhythm to counter the rhythm of the you need to get the jab.
Ah, yes.
I'm telling you, we've turned into just one big rap battle.
It was a rap battle, yeah.
Everybody's just going on a microphone and battling. It's the new war. It's a new proxy war.
Speaking of proxy war, here's a story from Axios.com. Archbishop, Catholic troops can reject COVID vaccine.
Why?
Archbishop is coming out and, this is the back and forth. You've got the Pope saying to get the vaccine. You've got archbishops and other bishops and people like that, helping people get their religious exemption. I think it was the Archbishop of LA said he won't be giving religious exemptions, stuff like that. So Catholic U.S. troops should be allowed to reject the COVID-19 vaccine if taking it would violate the sanctity of their conscience, said Archbishop for the Military Services Timothy Broglio in a statement out Tuesday.
We've heard of Broglio, haven't we?
I don't know.
I feel like we've talked about him. He's kind of
It's the Archbishop for the Military Services.
He kind of rings a bell as sort of a thorn in the side of
Pope
Francis, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, sounds right. Why it matters. Broglio encouraged troops to get the vaccine, but acknowledged that some people have questioned whether the church's position encouraging the shot precludes an individual from forming a sincerely held religious belief that receiving the vaccine would violate his conscience. It does not, wrote the Archbishop. Driving the news, the Pentagon mandated the vaccine for troops back in August, but many service members are still unvaccinated as the deadlines approach. Broglio noted that the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines were tested using an abortion-derived cell line. Quote, that type of a link has been for centuries considered remote material cooperation with evil and is never sinful, Broglio wrote, underscoring his approval of the 2-dose vaccines. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine was developed, tested, and is produced with abortion-derived cell lines. That vaccine is, therefore, more problematic. If it were the only vaccine available, it would be morally permissible. But the faithful Catholic is to take known his or her preference. Make known his or her preference for a more morally acceptable treatment. The Church's guidance allows Catholics to take vaccines derived from fetal tissue when no other vaccine option is available. Broglio has supported the decision to mandate the vaccine for U.S. troops, and his statement Tuesday appeared to codify his earlier suggestion that troops could reject the vaccine because of their personal conscience. This is confusing, isn't it?
It is confusing. Are they saying it's okay to cannibalize if you're hungry?
No. So what he's saying is, what he's trying to do is take the pressure off of the official church stance, because they've been able to sort of, wiggle around and say, hey, if you're a Catholic and if you're basing it on the abortion cell line thing, this doesn't count, and that can, you can still get. What they're trying to say is you still can get the vaccine if you're Catholic. They don't want to be seen as saying you shouldn't get the vaccine if you're Catholic, because that's problematic for their sort of whole thing.
Yeah.
But that's why he is stipulating that it's okay to reject the vaccine because of personal conscience. He's basically saying, reject it if you want, but don't blame it on us.
Sure.
Which I think is fair. I mean, I think anybody should be able to reject the vaccine based on personal conscience. Just, do you want it or not? No? Okay, fine. But it is an interesting sort of political position that he's put in, especially with the Pope being so pro-vaccine and Catholic lay people trying to use the church as a legal reason to not get it. But the problem with this Broglio guy is he's like taking a political stance of, you should reject it if you want on personal conscience. But the problem is the government doesn't care about your personal conscience. The government wants a letter from your archbishop. And this archbishop is saying, not going to do it. So
it is interesting because
it's a roundabout way to not making religious exemption available for troops. Yeah,
that's very interesting because, they have that sort of caveat in there. And I'm looking at a Vatican News site here that talks about the actual, the further clarification of the Catholic Church's position on the COVID-19 vaccine. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it has to do with, when is it okay to cooperate with evil actions of others? And it has to do with if there's a greater good or, if there's a public health issue, in those situations, I guess it's okay to have to kind of deal with the evil. It's almost like take your cake and eat it too for the Catholic Church.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. They want to let the lay people make their own choices, but they don't want to be used as the excuse for it. Right. But without them accepting, the responsibility of being the excuse, the lay people can't reject it because legally you need, to hit certain requirements for the religious objection. So it's actually really sneaky and kind of like slithery what he's doing here.
It reminds me of Revelation 13:11, the second beast that rises out of the earth, and how the beast had 2 horns like a lamb but spoke like a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of looks like the church, they're holding up personal freedoms and all this kind of stuff, but they're also like get the jab. Yeah. Okay. So I have a backup replacement to the story here, a replacement article, same story. This is the Times of India, and the headline here is Covaxin Jr. Bharat Biotech's kids' vaccine is good news, but why is its vaccine for adults yet to get WHO clearance? Oh, okay. So it says Bharat Biotech is on the threshold of becoming the second Indian vaccine maker to receive an emergency use approval in the domestic market for a children's COVID vaccine. The company's vaccine, Covaxin, is already in use in the national program. It's supplied about 111 million doses, or 11.49% of the overall COVID vaccination coverage. The company's vaccine for children has received a conditional approval from an expert committee on the drug regulator. More bureaucracy to approve bureaucracy. The expert committee said it's okay. The next steps will have to be a final approval and a clearance from the National Technical Advisory Group on immunization to be included in the national program. Earlier, Zydus Cadilla's vaccine had been cleared for children above 12. Covaxin, if it gets emergency use clearance, will span the age group 2 to 18. Whew,
that's crazy.
It's getting younger. It's younger.
Do we know anything about this Covaxin vaccine? It doesn't.
I remember hearing about it in the context of India.
It rings a bell, but kind of because all the vaccine names are like created with the same naming convention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's so generalized. I can't tell if I've heard it before or if it's just
it's Covaxin. Is
Covaxin,
it's kind of like Comirnaty, but also Spikevax. These developments are timely. India's COVID vaccination program has now ensured about 29.2% of the adult population is fully vaccinated. Kind of low. The vaccination rollout prioritized demographics at greater risk. Now there needs to be a parallel push to vaccinate children. WHO data showed that between December 30th, 2019 and September 6th, 2021, that's a big span.
That's the entire existence of COVID. Yeah.
Children up to the age of 15 made up 8% of global cases. Therefore,
cases, not deaths.
Not deaths, cases. Therefore, the COVID containment strategy needs to bring this demographic under a protective umbrella.
Oh my gosh.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
What? Like 8% of people who got tested positive, which has its own problems.
Yeah, cases, not deaths, not hospitalizations. Yes, children can
or
catch,
test positive.
Yeah, can test positive, but they have to take, because obviously 8% is the highest number that they can scrounge up.
Scrap together as much.
Yeah, to make
squeeze
sales
it out
for this baton. What is this company called? Bharat
Biotech.
Yeah.
That said, the absence of an emergency approval from WHO till date for Covaxin is mystifying. Two vaccines developed by China's Sinovac and Sinopharm using the same inactivated vaccine platform have got this approval. I like how they're like, we don't know what's happening. Why is China's vaccines approved but our own are not? I don't know. Maybe talk to your government and who they're making deals with. WHO approval is a prerequisite for other benefits. It opens the door to vaccine passports and also export opportunities. Bharat Biotech needs to get past this hurdle at the earliest by satisfying WHO's data requirements. Oh, bow down to the great WHO. Till it happens, it inconveniences millions of Indians who have been vaccinated with Covaxin and may now need to travel for work or study. India's cumulative vaccine coverage is fast approaching the 1 billion doses mark. The ramp up in production, mainly of Covishield, has helped speed up the pace of vaccination over the last 2 months. It's almost done here. If Covaxin manufacturing is also scaled up faster, it will aid complete normalization of social interaction in a few months. No, it won't. Indian science has reason to be proud of being one of few countries to develop its own COVID vaccine. The attendant takeaway is that subsequent development and regulatory approvals need a much higher standard of recording data. Drugs and vaccines are an area where India is globally competitive. The stakeholders need to build on this base. The stakeholders need to build on. It's so like a hey, come to India. We're one of the leading people, building vaccines. And India, to India's credit, they are more logical. Like they're the good. They had that one area where ivermectin.
Yeah,
helps a bunch of people.
They put together a whole thing. You get a blister pack that has ivermectin and a Z pack and
zinc.
That's
right.
And they treat COVID very well.
This is interesting. It may not end well for India because they're kind of doing both. They're like, yes, we are very good at treating people, but also stakeholders. We're also developing vaccines. And the other thing that's really nefarious is like only 30% of the country is vaccinated. Stakeholders, why don't you come in? We can bring that number up together and profit.
Yeah. It's so interesting because they're being very blatant. They're saying like it's the stakeholders. We need to make money. We need to sell more of this vaccine. We need to open it up. That's 8% profits we could be making. Come on, stakeholders.
Yeah, bring it in.
We need the WHO approval so we can we get other benefits and we can get vaccine passports going. So that means more money for the vaccine producers. Also creates export opportunities, more sales for the pharma. Interesting thing to point out is that this is the inactivated vaccine platform. This is the traditional. This is not mRNA vaccine. This is like your more traditional vaccine. Just I don't know. Just to make a note of that. They aren't doing mRNA stuff over there. They're just doing the regular old school vaccine platform.
Maybe because they look across the pond there and they see states like Louisiana tossing 224,000 COVID-19 vaccine doses after no-shows. This is a Fox Atlanta reporting.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, those mRNA vaccines, they don't. People aren't really buying it. So they're having to throw away a bunch of it.
It's a no-show. Is that people who had an appointment and didn't show up for the appointment, or is this they had an event and nobody showed up to the event?
I'm not sure. Let me see here. Throwing away doses. I don't think it really says.
Okay. The number of trashed doses has nearly tripled since the end of July. Oh, that's funny.
So, yeah. Okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter because it's all paid for. This is more just a way to, I don't know. This is Fox. So this is feeding that side of the aisle.
Yeah.
And a story like this gets them riled up. Like, yeah, that's right. Reject the vaccine, and it's fuel to their whole narrative. So kind of interesting.
Back to the India thing.
Yep.
It is also interesting that they're using the traditional inactive vaccine platform in India. Because Bill Gates won't share the patent for the mRNA vaccine. So they had to just kind of come up with their own inactive form.
Interesting.
And the whole thing with the mRNA is like, oh, yeah, look, this is the only way we could do it. We could never create an inactive form for coronaviruses.
Yeah.
They've been trying to find vaccine for coronaviruses for decades. But suddenly India is able to just whip one up.
That is interesting. Yeah,
I don't know. It's just kind of a weird disconnect.
And also, I believe the NIH or NIAID more specifically owns some of the patents to the mRNA technology because they're the ones that funded Moderna to do the study, and part of the deal was that Moderna and the NIH would have some ownership of the technology in terms of its patents. Yeah. And if I recall, at the time, they basically said like, oh, hey, yes, we own the patents, but we're in a health crisis. Anybody can use it. Maybe India wasn't buying it, or maybe they're just like, no, we're good. We don't want to use that technology, and now they have to backpedal to try to get the money out of the stakeholders because they got ignored or something. Yeah,
it's
I don't know.
Weird inconsistency. It's an inconsistency that I do not have a theory on.
Yeah,
but it is very strange.
Yep, because keeping an eye on India is important because they have the what was the name of the Aadhaar? I think they have like a biometrics thing already out there, and it's 1 point something billion population. It's one of the bigger places in the world, bigger populations, so it's important to keep an eye there.
With the WHO, I think these guys are going to have trouble getting their WHO
approval.
Oh,
maybe. Yeah, see, that's also weird. Why is it like the 2-year-old thing? It's almost like they're trying to appeal to the overlords that are the lizard people. Like, hey, we can get it into the 2-year-olds.
Right. Well, because you think about if they get WHO approval, it opens up the export opportunities. Suddenly, there's like an inactive traditional vaccine platform. If somehow that became available in the U.S., I imagine that there would be a certain segment of the vaccine hesitant who, if it's not an mRNA vaccine, if it's not the new weird thing, if it's a more traditional style vaccine, I imagine there's some certain segment of the population that would feel more comfortable getting that than the mRNA. I mean, I'm not saying I would run out and get it, but the mRNA issue is the biggest issue for some people.
Yeah. Pretty interesting.
Or the nanobots,
Yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. I think that's kind of the main updates for the Wackgene.
Yep.
It's Latin for many. Tick. Now suck your blood. Now suck politics. Your blood.
This
Politics.
is AP News. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
APnews.com. The headline is Social Security checks getting big boost as inflation rises. Which is the most hilarious.
Wow, did you read that verbatim?
Yeah.
That is not what it says on my version of the headline.
Yeah, they changed it. What does yours say?
Social Security COLA, C-O-L-A, largest in decades as inflation jumps.
Yeah, mine's way more exciting. Social Security checks get big boost, which sounds exciting until you hear as inflation rises. So
they're just...
It's not actually a boost. It's just keeping pace with inflation.
Trying to make it seem like...
Yeah. A little bit of manipulative language there. Millions of retirees on Social Security will get a 5.9% boost in benefits for 2022. 5.9%, Gons.
That's pretty big.
Well, and the interesting thing about it...
What's the inflation, 14%?
It suggests that inflation is at least 5.9%.
Yeah, at the very least.
Which is an incredible amount of inflation.
That is, it's supposed to be 2% per year, right? That's kind of the standard they've set.
They plan for 2 or 3% a year.
Right.
Yeah. Millions of retirees on Social Security will get a 5.9% boost in benefits for 2022. The biggest cost of living adjustment in 39 years follows a burst in inflation as the economy struggles to shake off the drag of the coronavirus pandemic. The COLA, as it's commonly called, amounts to an added $92 a month for the average retired worker.
Oh.
That does not even begin to cover the cost of living expenses that have risen. According to estimates Wednesday from the Social Security Administration, it's an abrupt break from a long lull in inflation that saw cost of living adjustments averaging just 1.65% a year over the past 10 years. With the increase, the estimated average Social Security payment for a retired worker will be $1,657 a month next year. A typical couple's benefits would rise by $154 to $2,753 a month. But that's just to help make up for rising costs that recipients are already paying for food, gasoline, and other goods and services. Quote, "It goes pretty quickly," retiree Cliff Rumsey said of the cost of living increases. After a career in sales for a leading steel manufacturer, Rumsey lives near Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. Shout out to the South Carolinians. He cares at home for his wife of nearly 60 years, Judy, who has advanced Alzheimer's disease. Since the coronavirus pandemic, Rumsey said he has also noted price increases for wages paid to caregivers who occasionally spell him and for personal care products for Judy. The COLA affects household budgets for about 1 in 5 Americans. That includes Social Security recipients, disabled veterans, and federal retirees, nearly 70 million people in all. Wow. For baby boomers who embarked on retirement within the past 15 years, it will be the biggest increase they've seen. Among them is Kitty Ruderman of Queens in New York City, who retired from a career as an executive assistant and has been collecting Social Security for about 10 years. Quote, "We wait to hear every year what the increase is going to be, and every year it's been so insignificant," she said. "This year, thank goodness, it will make a difference." Wow, $92 is considered like the most significant bump in their income for 10 years. That is, I'm not saying it doesn't help. I'm not saying the fact that does help says a lot about the Social Security in this country.
Yeah.
Rudderman says she times her grocery shopping to take advantage of midweek senior citizen discounts. But even so, price hikes have been extreme, she says. She doesn't think she can afford a medication that her doctor has recommended. AARP CEO Joanne Jenkins called the government payout increase crucial for Social Security beneficiaries and their families as they try to keep up with rising costs. Policymakers say the adjustment is a safeguard to protect Social Security benefits against the loss of purchasing power and not a pay bump for retirees. About half of seniors live in house. That is such a weird thing to even have to add into this article. Like, who is sitting back and being like, "Oh, you're going to pay bump retirees $92 a month? What do they do to deserve it?" Why do they even feel like they need to defend that? It's, again, it seems like kind of a manufactured, I don't know, a criticism.
Is this the boomer, a lot of the boomer generation receiving this money?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this is like their okay boomer moment, just they got to have that in there. Like.
Yeah, sure. About half of seniors live in households where Social Security provides at least 50% of their income, and 1/4 rely on their monthly payment for all or nearly all of their income. Life's tough out there, man. Quote, "You never want to minimize the importance of the COLA," said retirement policy expert Charles Blauhaus, a former public trustee helping to oversee Social Security and Medicare finances. Quote, "What people are able to purchase is very profoundly affected by the number that comes out. We are talking the necessities of living in many cases. This year's Social Security trustees report amplified warnings about the long-range financial stability of the program, but there's little talk about fixes in Congress, with lawmakers consumed by President Joe Biden's massive domestic legislation and partisan machinations over the national debt. Social Security cannot be addressed through the budget reconciliation process Democrats are attempting to use to deliver Biden's promises." And it goes on and on about the sort of the politics of this. But there you go. I think the number is the most telling part of this. It's the biggest increase in 39 years at 5.9%, $92 a month. I I think the fact that it's the biggest in this long really, especially with Biden. Look, I've had my own interesting journey in exploring what the actual possibilities of inflation is. I still think it's sort of a tool used for control over the population, regardless of how it does manifest. But, you know, you had Biden and others for a long time saying, no, we'll just print the money. It's all good. Inflation is not going to be a problem. You know, from the pulpit, Biden is preaching this. And here we are. It's reflecting in real lives of Social Security benefactors.
Yeah. And a lot of the money, we just to adjacent to the story here and what's happening in the economy and stuff. This just published. It was on The Guardian. I have it mirrored here on Newsbreak. Bitcoin could trigger financial meltdown, warns Bank of England deputy.
They hate that. They really do.
It's going to trigger a financial meltdown.
Financial meltdown, all this Bitcoin. Why?
Because
they don't like it.
They don't like it. Well,
they don't like it.
It's interesting too. The end of this article talks about how they were drafting the regulation to regulate crypto, and it's taken 2 years to write it. During which time trading platforms for digital currencies expanded 16-fold. Yeah. So in the time they're like, we must draft legislation, crypto, the whole crypto industry has boomed.
It's up 16x. 1,600%. Yeah.
$2.5 trillion market cap, which is more than the subprime situation that happened in 2008, which was only 1.5.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. And you got to remember, 40% of the money, so the dollar supply was printed in the last year and a half. Something like that. It was over, over 30. I think it was close to 40.
It was an enormous percentage of all money. All U.S. dollars were printed in the last year and a half. Imagine that. We're experiencing some inflation.
Yeah, and they're making it seem like
Bitcoin is the problem.
Bitcoin's the problem, but also, hey, we're going to boost your benefits, Social Security. Here comes the money. When in reality, it's like, okay, well, this is to break even because my gas
not even
costs.
Break even.
Yeah, not even. But I'm saying
it doesn't even. Yeah.
To buy gas to actually live, everything's going up. Thanks, government. All right, you want to take another quick break here?
Let's take a little break. I'm looking at the time, so let's keep cruising.
Take a break.
All right, so we're gonna. It's all you, bro. We're gonna spend some time thanking people who've come in with their time and talent, not just their treasure, because we understand that not everybody can provide the show with money. So you could still be a producer though, and you can do that by contributing time, talent, with art, jingles, ISOs of things you find. We appreciate Emily T doing clips and sharing it on Twitter over there. I appreciate that.
Yes, and Emily, I saw your message. Sorry, I just didn't get back to you, but we really appreciate the clippage that you've been doing on Twitter, and we highly encourage everybody to clip the show. Find some little spots that you think are great, that you think other people might like. I know that Twitch, if you're watching on Twitch, you can clip the show right on Twitch. I don't know exactly how to do it right off the top of my head, but I think there's just a little button that you can grab the last 30 seconds of the show and share it out on your social media. I imagine YouTube has some sort of tool like that.
They do too. I don't know if it's available for everybody though, but there is on our end. There's like a clip function from within, but we'll explore that more later. The time being here, so yes, thank you, Emily T, for doing that, and also timestamps. This is very important to get all the timestamps and making sure, at least on YouTube, people can skip around and get to the parts they want to hear. We know everybody's busy. So thank you to Jade Bouncerson. Oops, wrong jingle. This one here. The gong. Where is it? There we go. Jade Bouncerson, thank you for doing the timestamps for episode 400. And we're going to do some jingles now. We have a new jingle.
value store.
And Learbag 3000 came in with a couple here. He sent a Waiting on Gons. I don't know if this is a new one.
It's the same one. He made it a little longer, and he added a little surprise at the end.
Okay, let me get to the end of it.
Yeah.
Because it's a minute and 45 here, so let's see.
Oh, it's a lot longer.
So yeah, this is supposed to be my search music. Get through here.
If got a countdown.
If it gets to minute 40, I get prompted by the Jeopardy countdown.
Yo, if we make it to a minute 40 and you still haven't found it, that we're like, the show must move on. We cannot be searching for a jingle for a minute 40.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, Learbag.
Thank you, Learbag. He also sent the 33 jingle that we debuted today.
Officially solidified the eliminated Lizard Master show.
The most exciting streak. Fun.
Yeah, I like your...
I think we need to boost the vocals just a little bit. He puts that sort of deep reverby effect on the early vocals.
Just the octave. He lowered your voice a couple octaves.
Right. I'm having a hard time making out the words at the beginning.
You're also getting kind of the mono through the Skype version, which is the version that the live streamers get.
Right.
But RSS people might hear a little clearer. But yeah,
Learbag says can do. Yep. Thank you very much, Learbag.
Thank you, Learbag. Appreciate all the jingles. And we also have a piece from Marty B. And we do have a Marty B jingle here. He's a recurring producer of
Biden's your Marty B jingle.
Forgot about that part. Of Canary Cry jingles here. And this is another song here. We'll play it at the end of the show, the full thing at the end of the show, but just to get a little taste. There it is, Marty B. When I Vacuum Your Brain. And it is mastered by Diamond Disc Audio.
Okay, very cool. You know, one thing you can say about Marty B, he has a wide range of
the styles
he's able to create.
He can come at us with a little kind of a bluesy rock.
No two songs are the same. Thank you very much, Marty B.
Thank you, Marty B. Appreciate the jingles and for the songs at the end there. You know, we moved the Rung Smash stuff into the art section here, and so would you like to do the honors and read Rung Smash's microfiction?
Here we go. Yeah. Yes, Rung Smash continues the microfiction saga, and the next installment goes like this: Basil and Grace embrace, but NFG interrupts. We've got a problem coming, he shouts as a group of women whose habits resemble penguins head towards them, shouting blasphemy and destroying as they go. It's the atheist nuns. Very good.
A lot going on there.
The atheist nuns. You're interrupting my robo-romance, Gons. Or I guess the atheist nuns are doing it. Thank you very much, Runk Smash. And yes, we'll continue the saga of microfiction, which will one day culminate in a publication for all Canary Cry producers and listeners to enjoy.
Yep. And it's time to do some artwork here.
One art, please.
And we start things off with Dame Allie of the Skillet Nation.
One art, please. Another one from Allie now. Here it is.
And this one is titled, must get to it, Gasless Gavin. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Gasless Gavin's war on people using equipment to do work hits the streets.
This is regarding the California small motor
law
ban. Yes, to go into effect someday. And
2024.
We've got greasy Gavin Newsom standing here. He's looking very governorly. Who's with his hand outstretched, inviting everyone to the green new California future, and intimidatingly pressed up against him, holding a giant leaf blower, wearing his work clothes. We've got a California landscaper gardener man staring right into the side of Gavin's head menacingly. Yes, I think you really get the feeling of what these California gardeners and landscapers feel about Gavin's new Green New Deal, the future that he's putting together. They don't look very happy about it.
It's Newsom science, baby! Ha!
Yes, I think Gavin's going to run out of gas on this one.
Good job. All right, Newsom is pointing to a sign that has a leaf blower X'd out, like no leaf blowers.
Oh, I see.
That's what the signage is, yeah.
We were mentioning this before the show. The new way that Allie's art has been coming in shows up gigantic on the screen.
In the email, yeah.
Yeah, in the email. So sometimes if something's off to the side, I can't even quite make it over to the image. Maybe we'll go back to the attachment strategy here for these. Yes.
Good stuff. But yes,
but thank you very much, Dame Allie. Very well done. Again, capturing the spirit of the situation going on over in California.
Yep. Next up, we have Sir Dove.
One art piece from Dove.
And Sir Dove brings in a piece with a note. Had the idea for this one last week after you guys shared that older article about all the bumbling, incompetent Flippies. For some reason, I kept picturing Pepper as Milton from Office Space, tired of being pushed around and ready to burn the building down. So I thought I'd bring that to life. Hope you guys like it. Keep doing what you do, and I'll keep praying for yins. And
thank you very much, Sir Dove.
It's so good.
And yes, we have a recreation of Milton's cubicle here from Office Space, hanging on the walls of the cubicle. We've got references to the Flippy soccer team World Cup in 2050. We've got the Robo basketball player.
The Japanese.
What was the name of this? We had a name.
I don't remember.
I forget, but it was, debuted at the Japanese Olympics. We've got the Time magazine Flippy D-Day magazine cover. My favorite, the Grace Nurse, Robo Nurse pinup poster. And what is this? Is this a Fabio bot?
Yep.
Hanging up with the darts. Milton's been throwing darts at this long-haired, studly-looking Flippy. We've got the Flippy arm trophy.
It's labeled Basil, by the way.
It is the actual Flippy, yes, Terminator arm Basil. And, of course, we've got the Flippy stealing our wives picture on Milton's desk. But Milton himself looks like an unfortunately overweight robot who's just been working hard for the man. And outside the cubicle here, oh man, I should have familiarized myself with the characters in Office Space. It's the manager guy, the Mondays, am I right, written on his mug. He's got his corny tie on, and you can just hear him. I'm gonna need you to stay late or come in on Saturday.
That's great. Thanks.
That's great. That'll
you get
great.
those TPS
Thanks.
Reports? That's
yes,
great.
Yes, the TPS reports. Point out some Easter eggs for us. What does that nameplate say?
It says Pepper Incompetency Specialist.
Yes,
and
that's
below
right.
The TPS reports are the Pelosi and operatives' general contracting letters.
Yes,
it says Dear Pepper, and then you can't read the rest of it there. He's got the
Get
Mondays.
used to it, robots. If you want to take our jobs, you're going to have to deal with our bureaucracy and nonsense.
It's got the Mondays, am I right, on the coffee mug of the manager. let's see, what else is there? There's something else. Oh, I was going to just point out that the picture of, the normal picture of Flippy about to kiss his human wife, I wonder if that's Pepper, like a young, thin Pepper, because it's on the desk like a family photo.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
The plot thickens.
The plot thickens, yes. I don't think there's any significance to the tie here. Maybe he was just copying the tie from the movie.
Yeah, I think it's the tie from the movie.
I think that's it.
Okay.
I can't really find anything else.
Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Very well done. And yes, to take a good look at your future robots. Is this really what you want?
Oh, you know what? The time, I think it's 7:06. I think, and 50. I don't know. I don't know if there's any.
7:06. That's 666.
Yeah, 666. Right, but I don't know the second hand. I can see the second hand. I don't know if it means anything though. It's at around 57, 58 seconds.
Okay.
So
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Everything has a purpose.
Everything's got a reason.
Stroke, yep. Thank you very much, Sir Dove. Appreciate it, and continue on with the great artwork. Next up, we have a piece from Ryan N. And, I was supposed to put this in there for you, Basil.
That's okay. I've got it pulled up here.
Cool.
Yes, this is the next page in the epilogue of Ryan N's graphic novel here. We've been... we just got finished with the presentation of basically the Mark of the Beast being presented as the answer to the world's problems, and now we've got Lucius Falsus. He seems to be on some sort of late night television show, and it says the following: following the announcement of the global buyout, welcome back to the show. I'm here with my guest, the new owner of the world, Benedict Guile. Thanks again for being here. Thank you for having me. We're on Duke Audin's. It's ridiculous. Religulous? That's what it is. I've always felt that programming like yours was crucial in this new world we found ourselves in after the idea war. Our teachings on the reverence of all beliefs. Your teachings on the reverence of all beliefs has had a massive influence on my worldview and how I conduct myself and my company. I'm just here to expand thought. This is the voice I'm giving.
The Duke Audin.
Yes, but I appreciate the kind words. Now, if you don't mind, on to the interesting questions. Project Romulus clearly has classical Roman themes. What's the story behind the concept? I'm so glad you asked, Duke. The concept came from conversations with Lucius and his infatuation with the Roman Empire and how they connected all of the known world at the time under one banner. And with Mr. Falsus clearly having a short time, it seemed fitting to the memoriam to my mentor. Oh, and with this new expansive thought came the thought itself. Oopsies. Oh, no. I can't wait for the new VR to come in because, you have to take control, Gons. I'm in complete reset here.
Okay, he continues on. What's the one thing that unites all world religions? And then the next cell, he's holding up a finger as if it's a great idea. Experiences. Then he says, that's why I'm proud to unveil on launch day of Project Romulus a new tab to the Ego home screen, an app that triggers religious experiences through the firing of neurons and brain activity. Whether you use it for self-meditation or to get closer to what you view as God, this app will revolutionize the way you worship. There you go. Yeah, that's a very image of the beast type that he's describing here, sort of a worship of the beast.
Going into the technocratic, technological religious experiences. Just an update, Gons. My whole world just reset.
Oh, and I'm wondering, hey, it's a microcosm of what is happening in the Great Fork.
Yes, and I think the poetic. Oculus network is having trouble again because...
Ooh.
I have the crazy music playing in my ears now. Luckily, we're near the end of the show here, but the crazy music is back. My Manchurian Candidate MK Ultra programming will be triggered soon.
It must be local to your thing because I don't see a spike in issues on
be
down detector.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, we got do we have... Hold on, let me see if I'm getting this right here. Did I not erase the name here? There's one in here that I'm not sure of. Hold on.
Looks like maybe you added some from last episode, or maybe you didn't redo the list, because those last three were the same last three.
Okay, yeah, we got one from Grace here. Sorry. Next piece here. Thank you, Ryan N. We're going to move on. We got a couple more people with artwork. Grace came in, and I have a note from her. Let me pull it up here. Today's art was inspired by Sophia and her gothic dress. This quote was gold for me to try out new fonts. Thank you for that. She looks like a cross between Darth Vader, Wednesday Addams, an Instagram model, and a religious icon, Priestess Sophia. This was a cross between what both of you said about Sophia and her clothing option. Have a great show today. This Miss G Beauty. Thank you, Grace. Do you see the piece there, Basil?
Yes, thank you very much. Looks very spooky. It's all black and white. She's got the Sophia outfit, the black sort of lacy dress mixed with Darth Vader armor on the left-hand side there, and very sort of gothic-looking font work for the quote. Thank you very much, Grace. I love it.
Yep, great job. Appreciate it. And yeah, I like the new fonts. Mm-hmm. It's very good. It looks like I'm looking at a font website, trying to pick my font for the next thing. Mm-hmm. Appreciate it. Next up, we have a piece from Quantum Solace. And there's a lot of words on this page, but it's basically what looks like a mock CNN news report. And the headline is, Breaking, Pope Makes Jimmy Eat World Official Saints of the Catholic Church.
That's pretty funny. Jimmy Eat World. That's a blast from the past.
I know. I think he was referencing the acronym for that. Do you get it?
J-E. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Hey, okay.
Yeah. And it goes through a whole thing here. I don't necessarily think we have to eat it. Or eat it. Read it.
Eat it. Don't eat it,
Jimmy
Gons.
Eat World.
Don't Jimmy Eat World it.
Don't Jimmy eat it. But yes, there you go. Thank you.
This might be the first time that somebody sent a custom article as art here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, we have a couple pieces from Lloyd V. He's our deep fake artist of the show. And he has a note that said, Dear Basil and Gons, in the past I've tried to make a deep fake with Basil's face. This turned out to be hard since there are no clear pictures of his face on the internet. Mm-hmm. For this 400th episode, I decided to give it another try. As a bonus, I added a deep fake of the Lord of the Rings movie poster. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh.
With both of your faces as someone else's face. I hope you like it. Thanks for the dedication. Love, prayer, wisdom, and love. Again, God bless. It's Lloyd V and the family.
You're excited because you get to be Aragorn.
I'm Aragorn.
I see why you're excited.
Yes, you are Frodo.
Yes.
And
it's kind of funny looking at the deep fake renditions of my face that Lloyd is able to get. It's not my face, but it's a good try.
It's not the eyes for sure, but I keep thinking he used the chin, and you keep dismissing the chin.
I'm not dismissing it. I think you're a little obsessed with the chin. I mean, the chin is a chin. No,
it's because it's the only part of your face that during live stream, if people get a glimpse of your face, it's your chin because it's not covered in VR.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I accept that you have a view of the world that is different from my own.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. Excellent.
He's not done.
Work.
He's not done.
No, I know. I'm thanking him for this one.
Okay, so first he's got the Basil Lee. This is a Bruce Lee version of Basil.
I'm warning you. Next time it's gonna be glass.
That's pretty funny.
I feel a little bit violated.
Yeah, it's like a montage of Bruce Lee clips with with a certain attempt at my face on there. I mean, I like it. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, there's got one more here, and this is the Basil of Persia, the Prince of Persia version with Basil.
I don't know what reference he is using for these deepfakes, but he is using the same one for everyone.
Yeah, of course.
It's got a... One thing I like about Lloyd's deepfakes is there's no... Lloyd does not see color. He puts... a Japanese man's face on a Scottish guy's body, puts a white boy's face on a Persian guy.
He's super woke, man. He just
yeah, he's so woke.
Yeah, I love it.
That's very good. Thank you very much, Lloyd.
Thank you, Lloyd.
Keep them coming. It's very fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right, that's the artwork. Do you want to read a couple reviews real quick?
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, that is who I was trying to figure out.
It does have a Jake Gyllenhaal look.
It looks like a little bit of a Jake Gyllenhaal thing, which I am very flattered. Thank you very much, Lloyd.
Yeah, I don't know that you have a Jake Gyllenhaal thing going on.
I think you don't need to think about it too much, Gons. I mean,
you'll take the compliment.
Is using a very famously handsome actor as a reference point. I think that's totally okay.
Okay, we'll leave it there. All right. Real quick, we got a few reviews here to read. I don't know how many you want to go through, but I know that we're behind on.
Yes, I'm going to go through. I'm going to go through a couple of reviews here, and so thank you to everybody leaving ratings and reviews. We are playing a little bit of a catch up for a couple of different reasons, but part of those reasons is because you guys have been doing a great job leaving ratings and reviews, and it's showing in the charts, and we appreciate it very much. For those who don't know, if you haven't left a review, what are you waiting for? It's a very important aspect of having this show up on charts and be recommended to people. It's one of the best ways that the show spreads throughout the earth, and it's something that Gons and I have no control over. You, dear producers, are the only ones that have control over this, and so whenever you guys leave ratings and reviews, we're very appreciative. We consider it a personal favor, and I'm honor bound to read the reviews on the show. I'm going to read just a few here. Last I remember, we left it off at the end of September, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So here we go. This one is coming from Seabronitzer from the U.S. 5 stars. Mucho the best. This is undoubtedly the best podcast under the firmament. Love these guys. Their due diligence is unmatched, and their witty banter is refreshing and highly enjoyable. If heaven has podcasters, it will definitely be these two. Aww.
Oh.
All right. Asian provocateur and his habitually podcasting man-child partner. I see you there, you silly raveler. Keep up the good work, guys. Blessings to you and all your wonderful listeners. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sir. Next, we have one from Bart Simpson Man.
All right.
U.S.
Dude, the Bart Man.
Bart Simpson Man, 5 stars. Love these guys. You guys are either the best real truthers out there or the best deep state shills. You've got us figured out. We are either the best real truthers or very talented deep state shills. Either way, I'll keep listening. Will demooch soon. Yours in Christ, Gerardo from LA. P.S. Blah, blah, blah. P.P.S. Never ever stop playing that. Shake things up, Homer. Outro. I listened to your whole show just for that. Peace. Well, thank you very much. Yes, we are very fond of that outro as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Bart Simpson Man.
Yeah, do the Bart Man. He can do it. She can do it. So can I.
I don't understand the reference, but I'm going to just keep on moving and thank Try Cindy from the U.S. 5 stars.
TN Cindy.
Oh, yeah, weird. TN Cindy, thank you. 5 stars, great podcast. What a fun and uplifting way to stay informed. I love the interaction between these two podcasters. They are real people, not robots. And little does she know, bleep, bloop, bloop. and help keep me updated with what is going on in the world. Thanks for all that you do to get the news out and for the Christian perspective. You do an awesome job. Well, thank you. You did an awesome job on this review, TN Cindy. Thank you. Next, we have J Listener 1 from the U.S., 5 stars. Solid news with Christian views. My very first exposure to these guys was to Gonz's excellent documentary, Age of Deceit, which emphasized crucial information for understanding the spiritual war in which we find ourselves, which most churches turn a blind eye. I do have one criticism, related to coverage of the current scamdemic, that both hosts seem to take a bias of assuming that germ theory is proven and legitimate in discussions related to science, with no time given that I've found to terrain theory, which challenges the idea that any microbe is or ever has been the cause of a single disease. This challenge is not generally welcome, as it requires a lengthy process of reconsidering over a century of the alleged science behind the current medical establishment, but I would appreciate the hosts broaching or acknowledging the arguments in the camp of terrain theory. On a personal note, I regret that not attending a Watchman conference in my home city to meet Gons in person, but I wish them both well, and I encourage them to keep up the good work they are doing. Just to test if Basil really reads these on air, quote, Sissy Flapjack Go-Go Boots, my fellow worshipful master lizard Shill Bezos, 33, comma to the top, zookeeper's boy, hairdresser on fire, and slap it on a biscuit. Wow. I did it.
There's a lot there.
And you did it to me, Jay Listener 1. Yeah, we've talked about terrain theory before. In fact, that was a bigger topic at the beginning of the pandemic when the 5G stuff was coming up and the David Icke was popping off. But yeah, this terrain theory is not mentioned in the news very often, and we analyze and deconstruct the news. So that's probably why we don't get in. And also, I'm not a scientist, so
it is a very interesting.
It is an interesting idea.
It reminds me, and maybe it's just my exposure to it. I haven't done like a super, super deep dive, but I have read, a lot of people send me stuff on it. And it kind of reminds me, and I hate to bring it up, but it does remind me of the flat earth, round earth debate. There's kind of we're looking at the same thing, but describing it differently type of a feel to it, or describing the mechanisms from a different perspective. But
it's a whole thing. And it's very interesting. I have not seen any, comprehensive breakdowns of terrain theory that isn't directly related to like David Icke or David Icke types. So maybe that's just me. I need to look deeper into it. I'm not necessarily a David Icke shill. But also I may not be representing the amount of research well enough. So
there's some interesting details in there. No, there's definitely a lot of interesting stuff in there. But
okay. Well, go look it up, people. Terrain theory is a very interesting concept. Let's see here. How many we got? Let me get through a couple more here since we're not going to be here on Friday. This is from Braxton Gray in the U.S. 5 stars. Great info. Very entertaining and informative. I listen often and enjoy it a lot. I gave 5 stars to prove I'm not a troll. But, here we go. Would like to offer my observation. I realized lately that Gons often says something along the lines of they give the news and also the best news, which is the gospel of Jesus Christ, but I don't think I've ever heard the actual gospel message given on this show. I may be wrong because I haven't listened to all of every episode. Yeah. That would do it. The show is a look at the world with a Christian mindset, I believe, but that is not the gospel. It would be awesome if they included the actual gospel message. Do that and you get a 7-star review. I'll keep listening and appreciate the insight they provide. Well, this is a bit of a bigger conversation than I think we're ready for right now. I'm assuming when this person refers to the gospel message, they are specifically referring to the salvation given through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ.
That being
the specific thing.
Right.
I would say we talk about that all the time. But if he's looking for it in sort of like a
Like an altar call.
Type of thing. Yeah, we don't give altar calls on the podcast. Maybe we should. Maybe, I don't know. But yes, I think we work off of a broader definition of the gospel message more than simply the altar call thing. But criticism received.
Yeah, no, I can understand that, especially if someone jumps in midstream. And, it's, and the thing that we have to...
Well, we certainly have, by the way.
Yes, of course.
In past episodes, we just don't do it we don't do an altar call every
We don't do an
episode.
altar call, yeah. But it's kind of the undercurrent, the foundation of the show. So it's almost like a given, if you're stepping in and listening to it, it's the whole thing is supposed to be a call to repentance. As we wrestle with all the different news, it's kind of like without ever we don't have to say it every time, but it's almost the punchline every time because because the world is so egregious. It's like the only thing that really makes sense out of it is a hope that surpasses all understanding and all that. So yeah, I mean, I can understand the criticism, but also we're not.
Hey, there you go.
We're not saying the news is the gospel.
We are not giving an altar call on the show, and so the criticism is legit. Runk Smash in the chat says, "Oh no, Basil is turning it into an episode of Ravel. I dig it, but somebody's gonna complain." Somebody's always gonna complain. All right, thank you very much, Braxton Gray. And thank you for the 5 stars. Maybe when Apple makes 7 stars available.
That was the other thing. I didn't realize.
We'll do an altar call to get those extra 2 stars.
Yeah, for you. I mean, if he can break the stars thing on Apple,
break the star machine.
Yeah.
All right, let me do one more here.
Do one more, yeah. So we can kind of keep it at the week there on the 7th of December.
Yeah, we're
October.
doing some catching up. Yeah. Okay, one more. This is from Child of God, number 1 from the United States. 5 stars, Canary Cry review. Text is very categorically correct. Canary Cry Radio /News Talk, as well as Ravel and the Joyspiracy. Canary Cry Radio and /News Talk, as
Can't
well as
read the
Ravel.
name of ours own show.
It's a mouthful. Canary Cry Radio /News Talk, as well as Ravel and the Joyspiracy Theory, are some vital supplements in my life. The Canary Cry family is a beacon of light shining from the watchtower of truth in a world filled with caustic misinformation and half-truths. The Canary Cry radio team, comprising of Basil and Gons as well as their producers, help parse through the information glut we are bombarded with every day of our working lives. They also help to expose the wolves hiding amongst us precious sheep. Most importantly, the Canary Cry team maintains its integrity by not allowing themselves to be bought by advertisers. If you are looking for a wholesome, almost family-friendly show, just sometimes we'll veer a little bit, but we try to keep it family-friendly. Just sit down and prop up your feet and relax listening to this entertaining and informative show. Thank you very much, Child of God. Number 1.
Number 1.
You're
All right.
number 1, Child of God.
Cool. So, yes, keep bringing the reviews if you haven't already. This is great.
That's right. And if you're out there and you've never left a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, please consider doing it. I know it may seem trivial to just maybe just a listener, maybe a casual or passive listener to the show, but it really is a vital part of what we do here. So, everybody should leave ratings and reviews, but especially if maybe you don't produce in other ways, leaving a rating and review is a really valuable way that you can give back to the show. And it's easy. It only takes about 2 minutes. If you have an Apple device, whether it's a computer, a phone, or a tablet, whatever it is, search for Apple Podcasts on that device. It's a little purple icon. Click on that purple icon, search for Canary Cry News Talk, subscribe to it, and then leave a rating and a review. Yes, when we hit a certain quota of these ratings and reviews every week, the algorithms activate into warp speed and produce a vaccine and really
self-assembling nanobots form
almost unbelievable amounts of time. No, but the algorithms share the show with people who have never heard it. It recommends it to people, and it's definitely not an insignificant benefit when we hit that 5-ish. Hopefully more than 5, but at least 5 reviews a week is really helpful. So go out and do that, please. Thank you.
All right. For the sake of time, we're just going to go back in and let me blast through this last little segment here, and then we'll call it a show.
I agree.
Yes, it's wake up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
And we're talking about, yes?
I consent.
Speaking of the beast system, beast system.
This is Yahoo News. It's mirroring an independent story. Parents petition to have principal who loves Iron Maiden removed. Quote, "We are deeply disturbed."
What?
Guardians of students at a high school in Canada's Ontario province have started a petition to remove the principal, who is a fan of heavy metal music, because of the satanic symbols involved. Signed by over 500 people, the petition by parents of Eden High School in St. Catharines demanded the removal of Principal Sharon Burns after she posted pictures on her social media account showing her support for British metal legends Iron Maiden.
Of course it's social media.
Quote, "As concerned parents with impressionable children at Eden High School, we are deeply disturbed that the principal assigned to the school blatantly showed satanic symbols and her allegiance to satanic practices on her public social media platforms, where all the students can see them under @EdenPrincipal, not her personal account," the petition stated.
She posted it on her professional account?
Yes, looks like it. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a big whoopsie doodles.
Titled
Don't
Eden,
do that.
Yeah, titled Eden High Principal Sharon Burns needs to be transferred immediately. The petition was created by parent Debbie Lynn. On Friday, the petition was updated to state that the demand for her transfer is not because of her love of metal or love for metal, but for, quote, openly displaying her own handmade sign with the 666 clearly displayed on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they make a good point, but I see where maybe not the disconnect. Well, maybe it's a disconnect, because a lot of people who like metal, and especially Iron Maiden, and are just sort of like into that scene. I mean, I think we can all admit that they're not all technically Satanists, and yet they don't appreciate how seriously the symbology of those bands are actual spiritual things and not just like a cool looking motif.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe she is a Satanist. I don't know. But that's one of the things when these metal bands and Christians sort of miss each other, is Christians take these things very seriously, and probably so they should in most cases.
Yeah.
But a lot of these Iron Maiden fans and other bands and fans in the aesthetic, it's just like cool, it's just like a cool thing to do the devil horns and a cool thing to put up the 666 just because it's like an aesthetic for music.
Well,
whereas
and specifically
they're very real spiritual symbols that mean things to people.
Right.
It's almost like just to flip it around on sort of the secular world, it's a really unabashed insensitivity, like a cultural insensitivity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's similar to how like some secular groups would defend Muslims getting mad at a cartoonist drawing Muhammad. It's very serious to these Muslims. You don't depict Muhammad in an illustration. So we must respect them. This spiritual belief. Well, same thing with Christianity. I mean, Iron Maiden and metal music and that sort of grouping, cultural grouping, they use a lot of these symbols, if not explicitly to worship Satan, but explicitly to make Christians mad. It's sort of their like rebellion against their Christian upbringing or something. And so they shouldn't be surprised when Christians react in the way that they want them to.
Well, and also the same thing happened when Iron Maiden first released The Number of the Beast, which I think is I don't remember if it's the name of the album. It's definitely a song. Mm-hmm. And a bunch of people, said don't buy their album. The Catholics had a whole thing against them. And, if we're talking about the original cancel culture being the church or the evangelicals, this is kind of just hearkening back to that.
Right. And it's being used to show how Christians are so ridiculous in this case. When in reality, even from a secular perspective, they should say, oh, yeah, of course these Christians are mad at it because those are very triggering religious symbols that are just being posted on a professional public school. Oh, I don't know if it's public school. Professional school principal's Instagram. Like, of course people are going to react.
Yeah,
to
that was the oopsies by the principal here. That being said, at the same time, I would more be concerned if I was a parent of a student at the school about what she truly believed, and then if we can have a conversation about it, about those topics. That would be more beneficial for the children than just banning the teacher. I feel like it doesn't teach the children anything good if you're like, oh, something you don't like, ban them. It's just a different...
It's setting the cancel culture, purity culture precedent that so many, especially conservatives, are like pushing back against the cancel culture thing, and yet let's just cancel the principle and not talk about it and explore and whatever. So.
And there's this, just as a side note, Iron Maiden drummer talks religion when you're, quote, Jesus Christ centered, it changes your life. And he basically talks about how he grew up in the church, walked away from it for a while. And then a few years ago, his wife invited him to a church service. And actually, he said that that particular church service didn't really speak to him. But then he went to another one, really spoke to him, and, decided to give up his life to Christ. So the drummer is a Christian. It's just kind of an interesting twist to the whole idea of banning the band
for sure.
Of the and again, and Bruce Dickinson, who's a singer of Iron Maiden, he hasn't really spoken about his beliefs per se. And I don't think anybody in Iron Maiden, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, I don't think anybody in the band has said like, we are Satanists and we worship the devil. These are themes.
No, it's a commercial. It's a aesthetic for commercial gain.
And also
to make money.
Yes, of course. But like thematically, they're not exactly talking about worshiping the devil per se either. So I don't know. There's a little bit of misunderstanding. I would be more concerned about Ozzy Osbourne. This is NewYorkDailyNews.com.
Whoa, 2 old school metal stories in the same show?
The beast system, man. After family members contracted COVID-19, Ozzy Osbourne says worshiping Satan protected him from the virus.
Okay.
What in God's good name? Ozzy Osbourne is thanking Lucifer for protecting him from coronavirus. The Grammy Award-winning heavy metal icon credited Satan for covering him during the pandemic, even as close family members contracted COVID-19. Oh, my wife had the virus, my daughter had the virus, I never got the virus. Being a devil worshiper does have its good point. That's my Ozzy impression.
I can't even understand. I can understand you even less than I can understand him.
The quote was, being a devil worshiper does have its good points.
Oh, geez,
so he's, you know him. He's being tongue in cheek, but also maybe not.
Yeah,
because he ate bat heads and stuff, and snort ants.
Maybe he got some natural immunity from eating that bat.
That's a good point. I did not consider when I read this. That's very funny, actually. That is a very poignant thing to point out. Yeah. So anyway, there you go. Ozzy thanking Satan for protecting him during the pandemic.
Louise.
And with that, we have a show.
There we go. We did it, and we're kind of on time. Not really, but
yeah,
we're
I need
trying.
to get out. I need to leave.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Now, here's the thing. Remember, thank you for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. But Gons with the Wind Week starts on Friday. So the next 3 show days, we will not be live. Now, we will be putting out some supplemental material to try to hold you over. So just stay put. You can still support the show. We'll be thanking producers when we come back on Friday, the 22nd of October. We love you. We will miss you. And we know that you will give us grace and understand that, at least once a year, we got to take a break.
Yeah.
And Gons has a family to keep alive and loving each other.
Sorry, I looked up the Ozzy story. Yes, it's true that he bit the head of a bat. It happened in 1982 in Des Moines, Iowa. But to his credit, he thought it was a rubber bat, like somebody threw a bat on stage.
I do remember that.
And he was being sensational, but turns out it was a real bat there. So,
yeah.
The lesson is don't bite anything that people throw on you or throw at you on stage.
Yeah. And just to address what some people are thinking and saying in the chat, yes, there is talk about me doing shows while Gons is gone. It's a little different technologically. It's kind of hard to explain. The tech is not set up at this point for me to do the show without Gons, because we run the whole show through a network of.
I am the central entity,
Gons sort of being the central technological entity. I will be attempting to do some check-ins. But I'm not going to put a schedule on that at this moment. Plus, it kind of occurred to us that it is okay for both of us to take a second and breathe if one of us is going to be gone. So anywho, there you go. We know you guys will understand, but please consider coming back to the show. Don't leave forever. This is unfortunate. Sometimes when we take a little break, some people just forget about us and float off and never come back to the show. But we got to do what we got to do. So thank you very much. We'll be back on Friday, the 22nd, and you can produce the show even through this next week as we post supplemental things for you. And you can do that by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT or CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
CanaryCry.Radio.com/support.
That's right. Go do that. Become a supporter of the show. And, we're going to be... We love all of our producers, but also our monthly producership. Consider, I don't know, we're looking maybe to do something special for the monthly subscribed producers, because we want to make sure that they feel loved as well. But consider becoming a monthly subscribed producer to keep the show going on the days that we don't have daily producers. But I do want to thank
noise coming from your side.
I know. Sorry, my phone is ringing.
Oh, your phone's ringing.
It's
okay.
on like a piece of paper, so that's vibrating. Okay. It's a whole mess. But I want to thank our producers for this episode 401 of Canary Cry News Talk. That is our Patreon producer, Adam M., producer Aaron J., Cherie H., Heather Russ, Jackie U., Juan A., Moore of JC, Child of God, Robert C., Mark D., Learbag, Ciara, Gail M., Linda T., Isaac G., Veronica D., Vladimir S., Scott K., Doctor Who, Dundak, Kayla C., Sir Sam is the Night of the Fishes, Jaded Dave, Brant W., Sir Casey the Shield Knight, Sarah P., and Runk Smash. Thank you guys so much for making this episode possible. And we'll look forward to thanking you guys next Friday as well. Now, remember, there's lots of ways to produce the show if producing the show with your treasure is not an option for you. If you're a creative person, an artist or a musician or anything like that, an author, a creative writer, whatever the case may be, you can produce the show with your talent. And you can do that by sending your artwork and your jingles and all that fun stuff to CanaryCry.Radio@gmail.com or CanaryCry.Radio@protonmail.com. Create something for the show, by the show, send it on in. We'll feature it on the show. You can also, make sure to, we didn't do meetups. No new meetups.
I forgot about meetups.
But do go to CanaryCry.meetups.com. You can see all the meetups going on around the world, and surely there's one happening near you. But if there's not one happening near you, go ahead and put on your own meetup. Just find a place and a time and send us the info, and we'll let the world know when to meet you. And it's a great way to meet people in real life who are on the same level as you. It's a good time. Show up, couple hours, hang out, fellowship, talk about the show, talk about the world. You definitely should do that. And there is the Canary Cry Zoom meetup happening this Saturday. You can find all the information for that at CanaryCry.meetups.com as well. And let's see. Other than that, leave reviews. Go to Apple Podcasts, leave reviews. I got to read them on the show. It's extremely helpful. So if you're out there and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'll leave a review someday, or other people will, I don't know, who cares? Please go leave a review right now. It's incredibly helpful for the show, and I get to read them word for word on the show. I am honor bound to let all producers and listeners know what you think about the show. So go do that. Other than that, you can just share the show. Share it on your social media. Share it out on your Twitter, your Facebook, or whatever. Text it to a friend. You can get a little bit more creative with it if you want. You can go ahead and download the show, transcribe it, write it all down word for word. You got this. I totally believe in you. Don't let the AI do it for you. Do it by hand. You can just jot it all down. What are we writing it on? Just write it down on a piece of paper and then go camping or glamping, like in Gonza's case. Take that ream of printer paper that you've transcribed the show on, rip it up, use it to start a campfire, but be safe. Especially if you're in California, don't let that fire get out of control. But as you burn the transcription of the podcast, it will float up into the air, and the ash and smoke will settle onto Californians, as they are so used to happening at this point. And as they sit there, they'll think, oh, what's that smell? Sounds like somebody has a campfire. Oh, I suddenly have the urge to think outside the cage. That's right. It's a great way to share the show. But seriously, keep those campfires under control, Guns. But we like to call it rattling cages. And if you need any more instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to him, you grab him by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. All right, Guns, any last words?
I think that's it. Love you guys. See you in about a week.
Yes.
Please
enjoy your time.
Don't start any fires in California.
Don't start any fires, Guns.
Why me?
We're all looking at you. We all know you're going to go out looking for bear urine. You're going to cause trouble.
Okay.
But no, you've learned your lesson. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
120 days. Give me a break. I wrote the bill.
I'm for the robots.
He's a Satanist from one of the Satanist churches here where they sacrifice babies.
Aliens.
Illuminatus!
Well, isn't that fair, Sean?
and buy gold. Bye!
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up.
Leave the bird alone.
I wanna stir up some controversy. I wanna rattle a few cages. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on.
keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Do not come back, you Nazi psychopaths!